blah 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 blah. Alright. It came back.
It's not. Oh, good.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, Cliff, after Lily does the phone call, I think that's the last voice line I have. I'll Thank you, I have to do some college work tomorrow as well, so...
Yeah, no worries.
No worries, I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Although I should probably let you know that was all on stream, so... I didn't get the chance to mute anything, so...
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Is it embarrassing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really minds.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I said anything too incriminating, so,
Or
okay.
incriminating at all, really.
Yeah, anyways, so how much did they miss? Did you notice how, long it died for?
Yeah, it was like about it was like maybe 30 seconds or so.
30 seconds, alright.
So you just go back a little bit.
Alright, okay, first of all, I'll get off of auto mode, let's see.
There it is, right there, go a little too far. How long's the last thing I remember his saying was how long's the flight to Wales?
Right, there we go. Flight to Wales, there we go.
Yep.
About 16 hours, if I remember correctly. It's a bit hard to tell with the changing time zones.
So long.
It's not that I realize Hanako's been unusually quiet even for her. She doesn't handle stress well, so she's looking really uptight.
Yeah, I can't imagine being on a plane for that long.
I've only ever flown on a short family holiday up north, so it really is quite hard to fathom. If Hanako spent so much of her childhood in an orphanage, she's probably traveled very little, let alone flown.
It's not too bad. I'll spend most of it either asleep or catching up on my English. I hardly use that here, so I need to refamiliar myself with it a little.
Will your accent be a problem?
I wouldn't worry about it that too much. It may be an issue initially, but I should be fine once I get used to it.
We all moved to sit down on the small bench beside the school gate inside, in silence. Strangely enough, even though I know that Lily's going away, I can't think of anything to say to her. Lily's a reliable person, so it might be because she isn't the one that I'm thinking of most. Lily might not be able to see it, but Hanako's chewing her fingernails nervously. I went to talk to her, but can hear an engine straightening up the hill before I get a chance.
Oh, I think the taxi's on its way.
Well spotted, Sal. I only just heard it as well.
A small wave of pride washes over me. To have noticed something at the same time as Lily must mean that I've become more aware of my surroundings. Anyway, we won't have to call the taxi company nor worry about missing Lily's plane. Once the taxi stops where we're standing, the driver rolls down a window and leans over. After confirming that yes, Lily's the same Lily saw to that booked the trip, we sort out her luggage. The driver opens the trunk of the taxi and takes Lily's suitcase, with Lily climbing into the back seat as he loads it into the trunk and slams it shut. After getting back into his seat and shutting the doors, he waits for us to say our farewells.
Have a safe trip, Lily.
Take care of yourself.
Hanako looks understandably downcast, and that much is obvious even in her voice.
Of course I will. I'll be back before long, don't worry. There will still be another person here for you too, won't there, Hisao?
Yeah, of course.
I turn and smile to Hanako, putting my hand on her shoulder. She only manages to keep eye contact with me for a couple of seconds, her cheeks red all the while before turning back to Lily.
Hey, Lily.
Goodbye.
Lily gives her farewells to the both of us with a fair measure of reluctance. Without further ado, the driver starts the engine once more and they begin the journey down the hill and towards the airport. The two of us stand at the gates for a long time, even after they disappeared from sight, not really knowing what to do.
Oh, what do you want to do?
I don't know.
Now here's basically the only decision that matters in this route. This decides whether you get the good ending or the bad/neutral ending. Or actually, no, one of these locks you into the bad ending right away, I remember now. However, I think this one we're going good ending. This is a feel-good stream, not a depressing stream. I got that out of our system with the manly picnic.
I think the manly picnic was pretty based.
Yeah.
Kinda was, but from there, yeah. I think it's time for us to move on to the feel-goods. The good feels. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, it's late. Anyways, this is the right choice. The bus stop, standing by the school gates like a mute sentinel, puts a strange idea in my mind.
You want to head into town and look for a bookshop or something? We have the rest of the day free.
It's a long shot, as Hanako doesn't like going into the city. I had the fact that we managed to get her out here even when it was so dark as a small miracle, but I genuinely wanted to spend more time with her. Anyway, she's likely just refusing. I'd like to...
Okay.
Really?
Really? Let's go.
I can't work out why Hanako decided to agree with me, but I'm not about to ask her to change her mind. Stepping off the bus, I immediately noticed that a lot of people are around us. In hindsight, it should have been obvious. Of course lots of people will be downtown on a Saturday afternoon. Hanako retreats close to my side, and I can feel her hand clutching my arm tightly. Her body is held against mine, and her head's bowed so low that her hat hides most of her scarring.
Oh, where shall we go? Bookshop?
Hanako's present and my other general living expenses have pretty much drained my budget, but I'm sure you'll be able to afford a few books. There's something I try to reserve a few funds for anyway. For a second, I think Hanako didn't hear me, but then I looked to my side and noticed her nodding, almost imperceptibly.
Okay. Do you know of one?
Actually, I do. We passed a few when Lily and I were looking for your presents.
Hanako's expression clouds a fraction. I gotta remember to stop bringing up her birthday.
You both spent a lot of time?
Or maybe I misjudged the situation.
We wanted to make sure we got the right present after all.
Hanako smiles and blushes a bit. It's a small treasure when she does.
Anyway, there should be a bookshop just up ahead. Do you want to check it out?
Sure.
The crowd starts to build as we head towards the bookshop along the raised walkways. Hanako latches her other arm onto me as well, making her progress a little slower. As we walk, the sound of traffic makes me think of a possible distraction for her.
Wondering, Hanako, have you thought yet about what you're going to learn when you're going to learn to drive?
Driving?
Yeah, you're kind of lucky in a way. There aren't a lot of whole students in Yamaka that are allowed to drive.
It's not the best topic of conversation, but I want to try and distract Hanako from the situation. She's really high-strung right now. Then again, all I've really done is make her feel awkward, since she's probably never thought about it. I wish I hadn't said anything. Before long, we were before one of the bookshops Lily and I passed during our search.
A self-respecting bookshop closes on Saturdays.
Bookshops don't make much money anymore because of the internet. Maybe they just had to close over weekends.
She seems pretty knowledgeable about technology. I guess it's a pursuit that would lend itself well to someone who enjoys solitude.
Huh. I guess that makes sense. It's easy to find books online. Anyway, looks like the idea's shot. Anything else you'd like to do?
If it's not Not a bother. Could you show me where you bought my present?
Sure, not a problem. It's not far from here.
I head off in the direction of the store, only half sure of its exact location. I don't want to repeat it the last time, spending half the day walking around aimlessly.
Here we are, Othello's Antiques.
It's small.
Well, yes. It took Lily and me some time to find it.
Can we go in?
I don't see why not. It's open.
Hanako pushes to the door and enters before me. Once again, the store is empty, save for the owner. His face drops a little when he sees me. Oh, you're not here for a return, are you? Wait, that's not the girl you had with you last time.
No, we're not here to return anything. We were just in town and wanted to have another look in here.
The store owner considers this for quite a long time. I guess he's not used to high school students coming to a shop on a regular basis. Might this be the friend you bought gifts for?
That's right. They were presents for her.
The store owner turns to Hanako, who freezes on the spot like a deer caught in the headlights. He moves to address her, but stops before doing so, looking a little taken aback. He catches himself staring and looks to the side, addressing us indirectly. His expression is awkward and tense as his entire body. I want to be mad at him, but I know full well that I had the same instinctive reaction when I first saw her. First surprise, then curiosity, then an awkward look away as I dealt with what I'd seen. Hanako looks less panicked than before, but I think the feeling she's giving off now is worse. It's not anger nor annoyance. If anything, it's one of apology. You're lucky there, young lady, to have friends that care about you as much as they do.
Thank you.
If I hadn't spent so much time with Hanako, I wouldn't have even realized she said anything. Then again, the store owner's mumble was hardly clear either, thanks in part to being directed away from us. Hanako strikes out into the store, gazing in wonder at the various items on display. She finds the doll section and spends lingering minutes studying each and every one. It's a side of Hanako I've only barely been introduced to. I was astonished when Lily said she liked dolls, and even more so to find her collection sitting on the dresser. She looks a little better now that she's distracted and out of the store owner's sight, but I'm still quite put off by the whole experience. I might have my own problems, but I've never had strangers react to me like that, as if I was something completely alien to them.
This is a nice shop.
Yeah, it's not what I expected. Do you want to buy something?
I didn't bring any money.
Oh, we can always come again.
Now that I know where to find it, that is.
We can?
Of course, we can come here as often as you'd like.
Thank you.
You don't need to thank me. I almost forgot where this place was.
Oh, I thought that was live or forever for a second there. I don't really think either of us completely believes in what we're saying, but rather we're just repeating what we think we should say.
Can we go back to the school now?
Sure thing. Let's go.
As we leave for the bus stop, I see the store owner peek through the curtain at the back of the shop. I'm not really sure what the glance he gives it or says. It feels a bit weird, and the fact that Hanako didn't see it is both a relief and a bit frustrating. Hanako and I stop walking once we reach the concrete area between the dorm buildings. There was barely a word said between us on the way back from the city.
Well then, goodbye.
Do you want to have some tea or something? How about a game?
Hanako shakes her head embarrassedly.
I'm tired. Maybe later? I've got homework.
She sounds a little depressed. Hanako obviously does want to do more, but I suppose she would have a bit of schoolwork to catch up on. She's missed a few days of lessons.
Homework. Thanks for reminding me. I got a sec to do as well. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
See you, Hisao.
Before I can say goodbye, Hanako's turned and began walking towards the entrance of the female dorm building. I look at the door as she disappears through for a bit, before going off towards my own dorms. Today was a tiring day. And there we go, Act 4. Home stretch.
Yeah.
Now for the real bit of feels. I woke up, took my pills, had a nice shower, quickly slipped on my uniform, ate a tasty breakfast, grabbed my bag, and headed off, all as per my usual daily routine. It was only after arriving in class that the normality of the day was thrown off. After taking my seat, I watched my classmates trickle into the room over the next hour until every empty seat was eventually taken, other than Hanako's. I could never get used to the idea that she just doesn't show up to class every now and again. It feels all the more worrying now as well, given that Lily's left. As Mujo continues to drone on, I find my gaze flicking every so often over to her seat, as if she might appear there any moment now. Nobody else seems to notice or care at all about her absence, but they have little reason to. Hanako being absent from class, after all, is perfectly normal, or at least it was. Her attendance hasn't been all that bad from what I've seen in my time here, but it was really much more spotty beforehand. This is also an ominous time for her to be gone. It's the day before her birthday, and my suspicions are starting to rise after the breakdown she had in class when it was mentioned. An increasing amount of my thought is taken up by how I can help her, but in the end, I feel like I can't do anything. The bell heralding the beginning of lunchtime rings out, shaking me out of my thoughts. A collective sigh of relief can be heard from the class, though Muto looks quite put off. He dislikes being interrupted in the middle of his exciting lectures, after all. Just sort of wondering what I should do on lunch break, given that Hanako and Lily aren't here. The solution presents itself.
Everyone has problems they have to do.
Wait, what?
Afternoon, Hee-chan.
My mistake.
Afternoon, Misha. Shizune. You both look as bright as ever.
Hee-chan wants to know if you'd like to have lunch with us today.
Sure. It'll be good to have some company.
The cafeteria hums with activity, much like my old schools did. Yamaku is different, though, in how strangely civilized the lunchtime rush is. What one would expect to be an unruly mob chomping at the bit to get to the serving area is rather a neat and organized line. There's a small amount of jostling, and people's heads are often craning around to check on what's happening up ahead, but it's pretty subdued. This is due, no doubt, to the very serious rules regarding such matters in the school. The same strict discipline is observed when students move in the hallways or come to and from their dormitories and the school gate. While the reasons for it may be slightly off-putting, I've come to quite like the sense of order that's enforced in the school. I didn't really like being told by Shizune and Misha to get their lunches, though. I feel a little used as I take a seat at the table from where they're sitting, plunking their food down in front of them. Sweetbread and strawberry milk for Misha, a bowl of ramen and juice for Shizune. I have a sigh of relief as I put it all down after the significant difficulty I had carrying it all in addition to my own lunch.
Thank you!
Misha claps her hand together before popping open the wrapper and digging into her bread ravenously. Shizune simply gives an appreciative nod before giving her steaming ramen a stir and blowing on it a little to cool it down. I open my own lunch, another packet of sweet bread, and take a bite before washing it down with some juice. The bread's very sweet. So much so that I end up forcing myself to stomach it just to get the experience over with. Midway through, I decide to take a break from the difficult task and ask what's on my mind.
Oh, I'm guessing you two had a reason to track me down here? You two seem to always have an ulterior motive, after all.
But if he found me, I don't have any other motive.
Her mouth is full of sweetbread as she speaks. It's a pretty unpleasant sight. Shizune looks a little grossed out. before going back to eating her ramen. I wait until Misha swallows what she has in her mouth before speaking again.
You're not buttering me up to make you work with you after school.
Nope.
Not trying to extract information from me that I might not want to give?
Nuh-uh.
Fine. You win. I guess you just wanted to eat lunch with someone as intelligent and handsome as me, then.
That's it, Hee-chan, you got it.
Shizune looks unimpressed as Misha finishes signing her conversation and sucks in the last of a long noodle as she signs her own thoughts.
Shi-chan says you shouldn't be so suspicious of us. She's just doing her duty as a class representative after all.
How is she... How are you doing that?
As much as I hate to admit it, it looks as if I still have trouble communicating with Shizune. It should be a simple matter of keeping eye contact with her and addressing Shizune instead of Misha in my speech, but when somebody else is doing the talking for her, it's a surprisingly difficult task.
It's the class representative's job to ensure everybody's doing alright in class, isn't it?
Not really. Wait, how is making me get your food ensuring that I'll go well in class?
Shizune huffs and adjusts her glasses disapprovingly.
So this is the thanks we get for giving you companionship during lunchtime?
That's a total dodge of the question. Wait. Hang on.
How did you know that I...
Lily's away, and Hanako is absent, and since those two are the only people you hang out with, you also kind of made it obvious to see.
Ouch. I may well have done so, but you didn't need to rub it in. Maybe this is payback from before.
Right, well, thanks. I appreciate it. That isn't sarcasm.
The two nod and we get back to finishing our meals. It feels a little embarrassing to be accompanied just because they noticed I was lonely, but it isn't as if they're strangers either. It isn't long before I finish the last of my bread and start on the last of my juice, and as I do so, I find my mind wandering back to what I've been thinking about before the two interrupted my train of thought. It feels like I'm the only one in class that so much as acknowledges Hanako not being there. I feel like this is the other time she skipped class, but now it's even more acutely annoying. Does nobody care if she's happy or not? Have I just written off any possibility of helping to make her better? Even Muto doesn't try to keep her in class, and I'm still not wholly convinced by his reasoning.
Hey, Hee-chan, is your juice past its expiry date?
What?
You are pulling a weird face, like this.
As if it were needed, Misha mimics my own expression. Her exaggeration makes me grimace, though. She doesn't at least take some amusement from it.
I was just thinking about Hanako.
Oh?
Misha's interest is piqued, and so is Shizune's once my words are interpreted for her.
I'm just worried about her being absent so often. Especially now, so what with her birthday coming around.
The memories of the incident in class are still fresh in their minds. Their faces alone are telling me that much.
You know anything about Hanako? Anything that might help?
Misha shrugs and looks to Shizune, who mulls on this for a while.
The only people she's ever talked to for more than a sentence or two is you and Lily.
Shizune might not be able to convey Lily's name in a derisive tone of speech, but I feel as if it comes through in her sign language. The effect is lost over after Misha's interpretation.
There are a couple of things we know about Hanako as student council members, thanks to the records that pass through our hands, but we can't say anything about what's in them.
Understandable.
It sounds a lot like the nurse's patient confidentiality. Every time I find someone that knows something about Hanako's past, it turns out being a dead end. The only way I'll ever find out is by... Whoops. The only way I'll ever find out is by asking her. I don't know if she'll let me know such things, but if it's for her sake, I have to at least try.
Don't worry about it, Hee-chan. It happens every year after all.
That doesn't remove my sense of worry at all. I still feel a little at fault for what happened in class, but this feels like it goes further, even without their confirmation of that fact. Misa knows my troubled expression, her own usually happy and reassuring face dropping.
Everyone has problems they have to deal with, right, Hee-chan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish I could help Hanako more with hers.
6.5 hours without me doing that.
No worries.
This is my new record. With that, the conversation trails off on a depressing note. Eventually, Miso manages to pick the mood back up through her usual bright and bubbly antics, but my mind remains focused on Hanako. I'll go check on her later. I make sure my door's locked after dropping off my school bag. The dorms are quiet. Those kept me occupied longer than I expected, discussing my studies after classes ended and pressing on me some worksheets to give Hanako almost as an afterthought. Absorbed in thought, I'm late in registering a shadow that appears in front of me. Looking up reveals the owner of said shadow.
Hey man, haven't seen you in a while. Oh, hi. What's with that response?
I have some mind greeting visibly annoys him. I'd probably have the same reaction.
Sorry, just thinking about a lot of stuff. Thinking is a pretty poor excuse to not be aiding the war efforts. And how goes the war? I'm preparing. Right now I need money to help with those preparations. If you want me to loan you money, just say it. No, man. I'm good. You're good? You don't want my money. Hey, man, don't look so surprised. It's insulting. I'm pretty big in the competitive bowling scene, but yesterday I found some guys who didn't know that. I'm fairly sure that betting would be against the school rules. School rules don't matter. This is a war situation. People these days don't have no appreciation for what war means. So, what do you need this money for, dare I ask? Non-perishable canned food, building materials, mostly corrugated iron and wood panels, first aid kit, camping heater, portable radio, sleeping bag, flashlight, mechanical clock.
At first, it strikes me as a rather random assortment of objects and materials, but after a few seconds, it clicks.
Isn't that a list of materials for a fallout shelter? So you've read a Protect and Survive booklet. It's good to see someone so knowledgeable about how to protect themselves. You don't seriously think... It's a non-zero possibility. No, I'm pretty sure there's zero possibility of that ever happening.
He slowly and dramatically raises an eyebrow. Well, as dramatically as one can raise an eyebrow.
The chances, I don't know, 0.1 to the trillionth place. It's infinitesimal. Besides, where can you build a fallout shelter anyway? Certainly not on campus.
That word's pronounced infinitesimal, by the way. Just for future.
Infinitesimal. Fair enough.
I'm a fucking dweeb, don't sweat it.
It's my summer holiday project while I'm at home. My dad said I can do it. Really? Yeah, he thought it'll improve my crafting skills and manual dexterity, or something.
Knowing Kenji, his dad probably just thought it might keep him out of his hair for a while. Still, it does make me wonder what his parents are like. Maybe they're totally normal and Kenji is just an aberration. On the other hand, maybe this kind of paranoia and fearful survivalism runs in the family.
Hey, want to help me build it? You look like the type to be handy with tools. If I had your help, we could maybe Make a really badass bunker instead of just a fallout shelter.
I doubt that. Playing soccer before my accident gave me good footwork, but I've never really tried my hand at anything approaching real handiwork.
I'm not. Really. I'm busy over the holidays anyway, I'm afraid. A shame. If the feminists ever got a hold of the launch codes, I fear that so few will be prepared. And your fallout shelter will protect you from a nuclear bomb explosion, in the case that this does happen. A fallout shelter is meant to protect against the blast. That's what a blast shelter is for. I thought you knew better. My mistake? My home's pretty far away from any major military sites, so the fallout following a nuclear exchange is a bigger concern than the blast itself. What this'll do is keep the dust and other particulates away from me, my food supply, and my sleeping area. It's gotta last me at least 14 days, though. 14 days is a pretty long time. It is. I need 1 liter of water per day for drinking, 2 optimally, so that I can wash as well. Toiletry is easy enough, just garbage bags in a bin placed outside the shelter area. Food means canned supplies, of course. Of course, and the radio's for outside communication? Right. I can pick up government alerts on what's going on outside. I need a mechanical clock rather than an electric one in case the electromagnetic pulse from a nuclear airburst fries it, too. There's all the other stuff I need as well, like extra clothing, matches, and candles. I think I still have time to gather it all, though. Maybe.
As much as I hate to say it, I'm a little impressed. He's really researched this and thought it through. Again, I don't know if I want to live in a post-apocalyptic world with only people like Kenji having survived.
It sounds like you really know what you're doing. Damn right I do.
It must be hard living in constant fear like this. He hardly ever socializes either, so the fact that he went bowling with us is in itself something of a surprise. This mentality reminds me a little of a certain someone. Thankfully, her fear of others doesn't manifest in such a distinctly eccentric way. One thing I know for sure is that I certainly can't tell him exactly why I haven't been hanging around with him much lately.
It's late. I have stuff to do. I'll think about making a fallout shelter or something then. Yeah, alright, that's cool. Man has to do what he's gotta do after all. You should hang out with me sometime, by the way. You're a cool dude. Cool dudes should hang together, right?
For some reason, that compliment actually feels kind of nice. The situation with Hanako being what it is, though, means that I probably won't be able to fulfill this request. For now, at least.
That'd be good. I'll talk to you later about it when I can. Cool. Later, dude.
He retreats to his dorm room. I had better go see Hanako. I stand outside the door to Hanako's room, hoping that she isn't in too much of a state as I nervously clutch the worksheets Muto asked me to pass on to her. It's one more reason to visit her, and it gives me something to talk about, so I suppose I should be thankful to him for giving me the task. With a long breath just steadying myself, I rap my knuckles on the door in front of me. Silence. I listen intently for any sound of shuffling coming from inside, but I can't hear a thing. I knock on the door again, slightly harder. Still no answer. How strange. Scratching my head, I make one last attempt at getting her to answer as I knock on the door one final time.
Hanako, it's just me. Muto said to give you some stuff.
For a while, the attempt seems just as unsuccessful as the last. Just before I slip the sheets under her door, though, I hear the handle rattling. As the door opens halfway, I quickly try to see how Hanako's faring. It's a task made somewhat more difficult by her oversized gown hiding so much of her body. She doesn't look sick, at least not immediately so. To be honest, I'd have preferred that to her expression right now. She looks terribly tired and appears to be barely acknowledging my presence.
Hey, Hanako. Muto wanted me to give you these since you weren't in class today.
I hold out the loose sheets, which she tentatively takes in her hands. The way she moves is devoid of thought. Her posture slumped in an unusual manner for someone that's so often tense and wound up. Even her eyes keep looking away from mine, doing their best to avoid eye contact. I move my head a little to try and get a better look, but she just ends up turning away.
Are you okay? If you're feeling sick or anything, I could go get a nurse.
It feels almost pitiful to put on such a routine get well soon act. I can't think of anything else I could possibly do for her, though. She seems to collect herself a little at the notion, but only a little. Her head remains turned away, but her eyes move towards me.
I'm fine.
An awkward silence follows. As it lingers, I notice that the sleeves and cuffs of her gown bear slightly damp stains. Her cheeks are a bit red, too. Has she been crying?
I see.
I hesitate a little before coming up with the words I really came here to say.
Would you like me to stay? I don't have anything urgent to do at the moment, so it wouldn't be any trouble.
Her eyes slide away from me, and I lose any hope for an improvement of her mood. I have a response, but she doesn't say anything, nor give any kind of gesture. She just stands there, looking away from me.
Hanako?
She slowly shakes her head.
Okay, good night then.
With that, Hanako steps back and closes her door without a second word. More than a little worried, I retreat back to my room. Wandering up the hallway, I keep mulling over what happened. It felt like Hanako was only half there, as if I was interacting with a robot that was just doing what it was programmed to do without any real thought. She was a husk of a person. This is frustrating. I hope that meeting Hanako would help the situation, but I feel like it's only made it harder to understand her. How am I supposed to try and help her when she quite literally shuts me out like that? I don't even bother to turn on the light, hopping instead to simply change out my pajamas, quickly choke down my evening pills, and collapse onto my bed. And there we go with the other critical juncture. Once again, Hanako doesn't turn up for class. I try as I might to concentrate on other matters. This fact continues to distract me through the entire school day, and even as I walk through the school gardens of the dormitories. I don't think today being her birthday is a coincidence either. I don't know the link between the two events, though, nor do I have any idea on what she's feeling. Were physical pain, I could at least provide some limited comfort. With something like this, though, I have no idea where to start. I run the people I know through my head, thinking about whether they could help. She's an enemy, so I don't know that much about Hanako, and what little they do know, they can't tell me. Same for the nurse. In the end, there's only one person that knows Hanako well and would be willing to tell me anything. Entering my dorm room, I notice something that takes me off guard. It's starting to feel familiar. With everything that's going on around me, I'm thankful that this room started to finally be somewhere I can relax a little. When I first entered Yamaku, it felt immediately foreign in every other way, from the untouched neatness to the way it smelled. Focusing back on the task at hand, I throw my bag onto the bed as I open the top drawer of my desk. Before she left, Lily told me the number to call her on while in Wales, and I wrote it down. In hindsight, I wonder if she knew something like this would happen. Now that she's out of reach, I realize just how much both Hanako and I have relied on her for guidance. I dig around drawer after drawer looking for that damn piece of paper. Eventually, thankfully, I find it nestled under a borrowed library book. I probably should have just entered it directly onto my cell phone, come to think of it. Without further ado, I enter the numbers and anxiously press the call button. Eventually, the phone picks up a feminine voice I don't recognize on the other end. It's probably Lily's mother. Yeah, we'll just pretend it was a mental static. English? As I'm finding myself underprepared, I realize I can't understand a word she says, either due to my limited vocabulary or her heavy accent. I should have anticipated this, since, according to Lily, her mother is natively Welsh. I soldier on in the hope that she must know some Japanese, considering it's her daughter's native language.
It's Hisao Nakai speaking.
An enthusiastic sound of realization can be heard as he recognizes the language. My feeling of relief is immense.
Ah, you must be one of Lily's friends from school, correct?
Even so, her accent means I have to concentrate to work out what she's saying.
Yes, that's right. Pleased to speak to you, Mrs. Otto.
It's so nice to find someone so polite. Lily DS for you.
Her mother seems nice if a little overenthusiastic given the mundane situation. There's just a small silence as Lily takes her time getting to the phone. In the distance, I can just make out her mother scolding her playfully for just getting up.
Hello? Lily speaking.
Sound awful.
She makes it sound somewhere between a dying animal and a yawn. But one thing I did remember to check before calling was the time zone. It'd be pretty late in the morning over there, so she really has no excuse.
Not feeling well?
Just tired. What time is it there?
Late afternoon. School finished for the day not long ago.
Hanako's not well, is she?
That was quick. The song's a banger and I'm backing it out. Don't care if I have trouble speaking over it. That was quick. My assumption that she must have known something like this could happen seems to have been on the mark.
How'd you know?
Today is her birthday. I'd hoped she might have gotten at least a little better coming to know you, but how is she right now?
We missed school today and yesterday. I still have to check up on her today. To be honest, after seeing how she was when I talked to her yesterday, pretty anxious.
Yeah, maybe not quite that loud.
I really have no idea what to make of it. Has this happened in the past? Is it related to her scarring in some way?
Unfortunately so. Roughly the same thing happened last year when her birthday came up. As far as I can tell, it's because her parents died in the accident that caused her scarring, and Hanako blames herself for their deaths.
What she says does seem to make sense. If she's blaming herself on her birthday, she may well be ruining that she was ever born. Hanako had mentioned her stay in the orphanage to me. Maybe I should take some heart that she trusts me enough to tell me such a thing. Lily seeming so in the dark about, though, almost to the extent that I am, is a surprise.
So, that's why she lives in the student dormitories as well? Has she told you any more about the accident?
Close as we come, she's very barely told me anything about what happened. What I know about it is largely conjecture.
She sounds depressed, almost defeated. Considering the trauma Hanako must have gone through, I can't really fault Lily for not knowing. Nevertheless, she still seems to consider it a personal failing.
Don't blame yourself, Lily. With everything she's gone through...
There's a long silence from the other end of the line. I begin to wonder if the call cut out before the voice at the other end speaks once again.
There is another person, though, that has been a subject of worry for me as of late.
Oh?
I run through the people she could be talking about in my head. The only friends she seems to keep very close are Hanako and I, though there is Akira as well.
That person is you, Hisao.
There's another silence on the line, but this time it's caused by me. Making others worry about me is something I'm very actively trying to avoid since coming to Yamaku. Indeed, even my interaction with Hanako has helped stave off any of my major health problems thanks to our relaxed and slow-paced lives.
Huh? What is there to worry about over me?
I apologize. I didn't mean any offense.
Sorry, I was just taken a bit off guard. Still, isn't Hanako a bigger problem at the moment?
Some time now I've thought that both of you may be feeding into each other's worrying habits. I tried to amend this before leaving, but it seems to have done little.
Worrying habit?
When I asked you about what you had in mind for the future, your answer was very similar to what Hanako has said in the past when that question was posed to her. It is well and good to want to protect her, but I fear that treating Hanako like this, as if she were a daughter or someone who needed special care, is only going to achieve the opposite.
The situation got effectively turned on its head. After everything that's happened, this is the first time I find myself doubting Lily's judgment. Well, it's a good thing you're not on your own with this, huh? Mr. Master of Romance. Again, good ending run. Ergo.
Go.
I don't want to admit it, but she may have a point. Something else bugs me, though.
You tried to amend this? Wait, our outing into the city?
Quite astute. I thought it might help if I dragged you both out of Yamako and into the wider world. I am thankful you came closer for it, though.
So she noticed that. I suppose it may well have been paying attention to us, and her hearing's incredibly good. Quite likely good enough to have picked up what we were talking about if she tried.
It's more like you were manipulating us.
Silence. It's a harsh way of putting it, but I have no intention of stepping back from those words.
I'm sorry. I was just worried about you.
Fine. I guess there are more important things anyway.
It's not a total surprise she'd do such a thing. Her motherly nature can be slightly overbearing at times, but she does have the best of intentions.
So, you think I should think about myself more instead of trying to cater to Hanako?
That largely sums it up. Again, I'm sorry for not telling you this in a clearer way before going behind your back. I know I am at least as guilty of being protective of Hanako as you, but I feel that you are neglecting yourself in your efforts to give Hanako happiness.
Do you really think Hanako will be okay?
She isn't as fragile as you think. I don't know exactly what experiences she's lived through, or what feelings she has in her mind, but she has managed to work her way through them until now. It's also my hope that giving her a little space will allow her to decide what she truly wants for herself, and give her the initiative to reach out for it. Please, have faith in Hanako. That's all I ask.
I guess I'll think about it for a while.
That's good. Being rash won't get you anywhere. I know that at times you may doubt your relationship to Hanako, but she does.
Lily cuts herself off and takes a minute to reconsider her words.
Please keep in mind I wouldn't have preferred you if I hadn't thought you were a fundamentally good person. You're a good friend. Both to myself and to Hanako.
Thank you. That helps.
We share some small talk to try and lighten the atmosphere, but it feels very stilted. There's a lot I don't know about Lily's stay in Wales, but after such a heavy subject, I want to be alone for a bit to think. After a few minutes, we end up saying our goodbyes, and I set my phone on my desk. Compared to Hanako's situation, mine feels utterly mundane. I still have both of my parents, I had a reasonably normal childhood, and unlike many in Yamaku, my condition isn't immediately visible to the public. But then again, isn't this just an attempt to justify the way I've been acting towards her? That may well be what our past were like, but when it comes to the future, I still have no idea what I want to do. In school, I've just concentrated on each day's work, and I put off more and more things to get her to Hanako. I recall the words Muso told me after Hanako's breakdown about the purpose of Yamaku and my education. In hindsight, he was probably trying to push exactly the same thing. Just what have I been doing in the times of my heart attack? If I ever did manage to get Hanako out of her room and to open up, what then? I look out of my dorm window as the sun slowly sets. It's a nice sight, but what I really savor is the quiet as the students return to their dorm rooms. All I want to do now is think. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I want to work out where I'll go from here. I believe that's the end of the scene, so with that, Ada, you are excused.
Thank you very much. It's been amazing. Good luck,
Yes.
everybody.
Exactly, and thank you.
Bye, Anna. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you
Good
for
night,
being.
everybody.
Yes,
It's
good
been
night.
awesome being with you guys.
Yes, you are easily one of the best leaders I could have asked for, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. I'm
Bye
looking forward.
bye.
Yep.
Good night. Sleep well.
Night night.
Good night. Good night. And not to worry, that's not the last you'll see of her on these streams, not by a long shot. We still have Lily's route to do. She'll show up in other routes. Don't worry, you'll see plenty more of her. Hear plenty more of her. But again, it's like deep into the night for her over there. I don't recall time zones off the top of my head, but she, I think I made the right call, letting her, scoot off for the night.
Yep.
Anyways, back to the task at hand. Wow, I called that. Alright, volume adjustment I gotta do. Yep, continuing melody, we are on the way to the good ending. And to quite possibly easily one of the better endings of this game, if you ask me. And I say that as an ardent Lily friend, so what's that tell you? Since talking to Lily yesterday, I've wanted to try and move on from the listlessness I've felt ever since coming to Yamaku. But even if I try to concentrate on the book in front of me, Hanako's empty seat at the back of my classroom looms larger than life. Every time I start getting focused, my eyes flick over to her desk, and again my mind starts spinning. Once more my eyes drift over to it, but this time my vision's blocked by a certain other classmate.
Oh, hey, Mickey.
Good luck.
I guess I'm taking over for Mickey.
Not like we have much of a choice there, sorry.
Okay. Maybe you should just have lunch. I can hear your stomach growling from my desk.
I let my head drop in disappointment. She seems to take some amusement from my reaction and hops up onto my desk. Her grin as she sits on it reminds me of the Cheshire Cat.
So, what you working on?
Math. I have a decent handle on it, but I just wanted to revise.
Oh, really? Let me see that.
Before I can object, she grabs my math book with her hand. She scans the page I was on, holding it open with the one hand she has, her left arm sitting uselessly on her lap. In my time here at Yamaku, I've noticed that the other students have a wide range of adjustment to their disabilities on a purely practical level. Miki is one of those who seems to have some trouble. The stump of her left arm tends to be either hanging by her side, slipped into a pocket, or otherwise put out of the way. Sometimes she has a difficult time doing common tasks, which makes her quite visibly frustrated. I feel a little bad for thinking this way, but I'm thankful that Hanako and I don't have disabilities affecting our freedom of movement to that extent. Then again, if Mickey's problem worsened, at least she wouldn't have a real possibility of dying. My attention's refocused as she's thumbed through a few pages, skimming their contents. With such casual interest in the subject matter, it's clear by now that she won't be any help.
I'm guessing you're not too interested in this stuff.
Screw math. It's boring as hell.
She puts the book back in front of me with indifference. Her eyes move to the notebook beside it that I've been working on practice equations on.
Wait, you're actually able to work that stuff out?
Yeah.
Wow. I've never talked to a computer with legs before.
Thanks, I think. At least I'm doing better in this than history.
Think it's worth asking that librarian for help? I heard she's shooting for uni.
Yuko? Maybe. I don't know what she wants to study, though. So what about you? Got anything you're thinking of doing after you graduate?
Me? Nah, not really. Just enjoying it while it lasts.
She looks a little awkward when asked about her future and absentmindedly rubs her left forearm. I kind of want to ask her about it, but I don't think I know her well enough to do so. The conversation peters out and I lean back in my chair, giving up on the prospect of studying. Miki notices my tired expression and looks oddly serious.
Thinking about Hanako?
That obvious.
You've been glancing at her seat, and you've been pretty quiet. Not too hard to connect the dots.
I'm just worried about her.
Yeah, I can see why you would be. She can get weird sometimes.
She sounds put off, but I can't blame her. Hanako was a hard person to interact with before she warmed up to me, or even with Lily around to help. I haven't known her for that long either, so some of her habits would still be unknown to me. My face becomes troubled. If I hadn't developed feelings for her, this would be at least a little easier to deal with.
I mean, no offense. She isn't a bad person, I know that much.
No, I didn't take it that way. It's just harder to deal with than when, well, you know, you have feelings for someone.
Yeah, I can imagine that. It's hard to forget something like what happened to her during class, too.
I wish she hadn't reminded me of that. She just confirmed that it was clearly noticed by others in the classroom as well.
Come on, don't get that down. She's done this before. You've just gotta wait it out.
She locks herself in a room and acts like an empty husk of a person for a sizable amount of time. Ever since she entered Yamaku, if not before then as well, and I'm not supposed to be concerned about that. Well, I might think like that, but there's nothing I can do. I can't force her to come out, and she does see a therapist, so it's not like she isn't getting any help for her issues. Maybe it's just natural to think about that when you're so powerless to help someone. That's just the way she is, and you just have to deal with it. As I mull things over, I notice a movement out of the corner of my eye. I glance to see who it is and end up doing a double take. Sure enough, it's Hanako. She walks through the door just as she would any normal school day and begins to move toward her seat in her usual silent and humble manner. She looks at me for a moment before blushing and looking away in embarrassment, which makes me realize that I was staring at her. I feel sorry for that, but not doing it is hard after all that's happened. The girl sitting on my desk looks to me, grinning.
See, your sweetheart's back already. What did I tell ya?
You be quiet.
It might only be meant as a joke, but she hits close enough to make me quite uncomfortable. As we talk, someone calls Miki's name from the door. She jumps down from her vantage point on my desk before turning to me.
Gotta go, Hisao. Remember to eat sometime, will ya?
Fine, I will. See you.
She gives a casual salute before jogging over to the door where a male student in a gym food uniform is waiting for her. Probably someone from the track and field club. Seizing the opportunity, I get up and make my way to Hanako's desk.
Hello.
Hi, Hanako. What's up?
Nothing.
Maybe talking to her this soon after she came out to class was a bad move.
Wanna go come with me and grab something from the cafeteria? I'm pretty hungry.
But I thought you were studying.
Studying can wait. Joining up for class after all this time must have taken some courage for Hanako, so the least I can do is stay with her. That's just the way she is, and you just have to deal with it as the way Miki and probably the class as a whole views Hanako. I can do more for her, though. I want to do more for her.
After being distracted by Miki, I don't think I'm going to get any work done. Come on, let's go.
She hesitates, but eventually gets up and joins us as we begin walking. These may be small steps for her, but the fact that she's finally out of her room of her own volition lifts a large weight off my shoulders. We're doing good. We're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
My pen busily scrawls onto a slowly filling page of my notebook. My other hand remains on the page of a reference book I borrowed from the library, marking my spot as my eyes flicker to and fro. As I work, I occasionally mark red circles or underlines onto the photocopied sheets of paper that lie on the table in front of me. Wanting a change of scenery from the library and to avoid the distractions of the classroom, I decided to make use of the Shanghai for some quiet study time. It ended up being nice and quiet as expected, and being able to get coffee while I study is a nice bonus. Hanako may have returned to her normal self since she came out of her room, but I've done quite the opposite. Daily routine may have returned to us, but I feel as if I'm a different person. Maybe I'm not. It's only been a few days after all, since I decided I wanted to try and get out of the rut I found myself in after my accident. But I want to change, and I'm now actively working towards that goal. Or, at least I like to think I am.
It's impossible. Brute forcing this isn't going to work.
What's more, I have another piece of running I have to do after this. I fear it's gonna be no easier. I look up in mild surprise to the source of the tentative voice. Yuko stands at the head of the table with a damp towel in hand, clearly having taken the opportunity to clean the tables while no other patrons are around. She looks curious, her eyes as much on my work as on me.
Matter.
I was just wondering, what sort of work are you having so much trouble with?
Oh, it's just history. I'm fine with science and math, so I'm trying to get my other subjects up to par.
Yuko looks positively delighted at this development. I feel like I just chose the right answer on some big quiz show.
Oh, I think I can help you with that. If you don't mind, of course.
I briefly considered turning down the offer in order to not cause her too much trouble, but she looks too excited about this for me to do it. It'd be mean to shoot her down like that after such a reaction.
If you're willing to help, I'd really appreciate it.
She claps her hands together and quickly deposits her towel on the counter before returning and taking a seat across from me. I take my notebook off the top of the textbook and hand it over for her to peruse.
So you're studying the Edo period?
Yeah, I'm not really much good at this, though.
She takes the textbook and reads a few pages from a random section near the middle for a bit, but the aura of enthusiasm she'd been radiating previously is rapidly sapping away.
I'm guessing this isn't the kind of history you were expecting.
Unfortunately not. My main area is European history, especially in the classical era. Sorry.
So I'm sorry to put this up, but did you roll a die before reading that line?
Sorry. I dropped something.
Yeah, no big deal, just I do mean things when I need peace of mind, I'm sorry. She looks a bit downcast, but as she carefully closes the book and lays it back down on the table, her face perks up again.
Would you like another cup of coffee?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I reach forward and get my book back as Yuko gets up, takes my mug, and slowly walks to the counter to make another brew. As usual, she's absolutely silent as she does this. Every ounce of her concentration is focused on not tripping over or dropping the plain white mug. I take the opportunity to lay back and relax for a bit, the hum of the coffee machine filling the otherwise quiet air. It's small details like that which make me realize how much I've come to appreciate the little things in life. The peace and quiet of the local town, the discipline and order of Yamaku, the green of the trees that were so rare in my home city, the relaxed pace at which the aging residents live their lives. Everything feels so certain. It's comforting. Ugh. I saw it dip red for a second, but it went right back to green. That made me panic. Anyways, I can feel myself beginning to nod off when the sound of the mug coming to rest on the table grabs my attention. Seems like it arrived not a moment too soon. Yuko takes her previous seat once again as I pick myself up and bring a hand around the mug to check its temperature. It's just a little too hot to drink right away, so I blow at it a little.
It's a shame you don't like history all that much. I sort of guessed you might be more into science.
So,
You've nearly read out the science fiction section of the library already. It wasn't hard to notice.
you do have a good point there. What can I say? You've picked me just about right. You sound like you really take an interest in history, though, especially considering how specific you were about it. Do you study in that area or something? Go on digs overseas?
She giggles nervously at the thought.
I'd like to visit the Mediterranean sometime and see the old architecture and art for myself, but I don't think I could trust myself to handle such delicate things. I'm saving up to formally study it in university, although I also read up on it whenever I have free time outside of work.
So Miki was right about her university aspirations. Considering how she fares as a waitress, a more theoretical path may suit Yuko better. It's nice to hear that she has some ambitions, though, considering how hard she works. I nod and take a careful sip of my coffee. By now it's cooled to the right temperature, so I begin to drink while keeping an eye on the book below, trying to read at the same time. A few minutes pass quietly, Yuko looking out the window and watching the world go by while I have my coffee and study. A movement catches my eye, and I look up to see Yuko smiling and waving to someone outside. Following her gaze, surprisingly reveals someone to be Hanako. She's looking at us from the side of the street across from where we are. Her usually all-too-visible timidity is largely absent, possibly thanks to there being so few people around right now. Evidently, she decides to join us, as after a little wave, she gives a quick glance up and down the street and crosses toward the side that the cafe is on. The familiar doorbell of the Shanghai rings out as Hanako enters and makes her way to the table we're sitting at.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hi, Hanako. What's up?
Nothing, just going for a walk since the weather was nice.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm glad I decided to study here instead of the library.
It's comfortable in here thanks to that, better than the sometimes quite stuffy library. I look at Yuko, who nods in response.
It's nice. It's just a shame that summer can't last forever. Oh wait, sorry. Would you like a drink?
Hanako shakes her head. Thankfully, it's enough to calm Yuko back down.
How are you going with studying?
Okay-ish? Oh yeah, have you talked with Lily?
I'm interested too. How is she doing? She's enjoying it, I think.
I think that's all we're gonna get out of her. Being around Yuko is tensing her up.
Oh, it would be so nice to travel to Wales. Green field, castles, lovely small towns, men in kilts, interesting history.
You probably should have just skipped that bullet point, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, little Karma, I banged my fingers against the table I forgot was right next to me. I can't say I see the appeal of, I can't say I see the, it does seem like a picturesque place. As we talk, the jingle of the doorbell rings again. Hanako startled, noticing Yuko's panic expression at the prospect that she might leave customers to wait a handful of seconds due to her chatter with us. Yuko gives a quick bow, then hastily skitters over and greets the new customers, an elderly man and his wife. I watch her for a bit, craning my head around to get a good view. Hanako's staring at me with her one visible eye. She averts her head in embarrassment as I try to make eye contact.
I was just thinking that it's nice to have ambition for the future. Yuka was telling me a little about her university aspirations before.
Oh,
It's a shame. If she wasn't so neurotic and overworked, I think she could actually be a really happy person.
As much as I like to play host to Hanako and entertain her a bit, I do need to study as well. To be honest, I don't think the distraction from Yuko helps either.
Sorry if I'm a bit distracted. I need to try and get this done. Otherwise, I'm going to flunk this history exam pretty hard.
I'm left running my hand through my hair in frustration. That literally needs doing as well once I get back to my dorm room.
I hope I have more luck with that than this. Damn.
what with?
Oh, I was going to write to Iwanako right now, though. This is more important.
All I've done is write on myself. I can't focus on the work in front of me when my stomach is slowly turning at the prospect of actually attempting to write her back after all this time. I force myself to concentrate on the book, picking up my pen once I have a quick sip of coffee. After a few seconds, Hanako stops silently watching me and leans back in her seat, relaxing as much as she ever seems to be able to, looking out the window to pass the time. We stayed like this for a long time before leaving for the dorms together. I'm surprised she had the patience to wait me out. Iwanako's letter lies on my desk beside a blank sheet of paper, blank sheet of lined paper and an unused envelope. The tapping of my pen is the only thing that we heard this late at night. As I feared, my second task for the day turns out to be just as difficult as the first, if not harder. It's been so many months since we even saw each other. Even so, I can still remember what she looks like, what she sounded like, what she acted like. But now, though, the little details are beginning to slip away. When I first saw her letter, I barely recognized her handwriting at all. Even the pink pen she always used was forgotten until her handwriting reminded me of it. I wonder why she didn't use it for the letter. She used to write everything with it. Maybe she thinks it's too immature now. I shouldn't be thinking about myself and about what I want to communicate to her. My mind can't stop concentrating on her, though, on the past we shared before it's taken away so suddenly. The bright and slightly garish decorations suit her sense of aesthetics. Picking up the letter to take a closer look at it, I give a long sigh. This is the last link binding me to my past. Iwanako didn't suddenly cease to exist when she left my hospital room for the last time, but I needed this letter to remind me of that. I had all those feelings neatly filed away. It felt as if I didn't need them, that I could just begin life completely anew. It was easier that way. In the end, I suppose that was a rather naive thing to think. Sooner or later, my past would have caught up with me one way or the other. But what am I supposed to say to her? Thank you for bringing me closure? All the letter did was end the sense of closure I'd previously felt. Try as I might, I can't write so much as a single word down on the paper in front of me. I can't even think of what exactly I want to say. Putting the letter down on top of the blank sheet, I gather the materials together and file them away in my drawer. The clunk the desk makes as it closes makes me momentarily tense in frustration, before I get up to go grab a drink from the vending machine on the first floor. I tried, but I couldn't do it. After all the time that's passed, I still don't know how to deal with Iwanako. The library, while not humming with activity, is noticeably more busy than usual. Exams aren't far away, and that's reflected in the number of students burying their noses in textbooks at the tables around us. I've been studying quite a lot in the past few days, just like them, and those are doing well in the exams. This also means that Hanako and I have been playing games less, so she's begun studying as well just to fill the time. Nevertheless, I found myself forsaken by her on this particular day. The textbook in front of me has remained on the same page for some time. After so much reading on subjects I couldn't care less about if not for the exams, my mind's beginning to wander. I found my eyes flicking over to where Hanako would usually be, just like on the day she wasn't in class. Her usual beanbag in the corner of the room is conspicuously unoccupied. It was here that we first really met. I tried to start a conversation with her, she got skittish and eventually bolted from the room altogether. I probably shouldn't smile about it, but it was kind of amusing in hindsight. Nowadays, it's more and more difficult to imagine her doing such a thing. Even with Lily gone, she's been doing it well. She's been doing well now that she's come out of her room. I want to talk with her, at least play another game of chess. I'm tired of studying, and it's been a few days since we've really done anything together. The question of where to find Hanako isn't a particularly difficult one. If she's not in the library, chances are she's either in the tea room for some peace and quiet or her dorm room. Deciding to check them in that order, I pack up my books and make my way out of the library. I stretch and give a loud groan as I walk down the hallway. Studying may be frustrating at times, but with the progress I feel I've made, there's also some sense of pride in getting it done. It's a good feeling. There isn't a sound to be heard from inside as I stand in front of the door to Hanako's room. I guess it isn't very indicative of whether she's inside or not, given how quiet she usually is. Still, she wasn't in the tea room. I try knocking lightly to make my presence known, but I am surprised when I find her door unlocked and yielding at my touch. With a small creak, the door opens. It looks like my suspicions were correct. Hanako is indeed in here. She's sitting at the table with an open book in front of her, but pays it no heed as she keeps looking out the window. She looks utterly oblivious to my presence. With her head thoughtfully resting on her hand, she looks calm and collected. It's a shame she can't look like this more often. Smiling a little, I walk up to the table and softly speak to her.
Good evening, Hanako.
Hanako's head turns a little to see me, but she's only half there. I put a hand on the table and lower my head to better look at her face, mildly curious about what mood she's in.
What's up?
She gasps a little, finally acknowledging my presence in the room for the first time. Hanako's blushing really heavily. Her mouth is open just a little, as if paused mid-sentence. Most striking, though, is what she's doing. She's looking directly at me. Her eyes are pinned on my own from such a close distance that I can almost see my reflection in them. They don't turn away nor move at all. They're absolutely still. Absolutely still, just looking into mine. They're dark and give her an almost analytical air. Even when reading on subjects she has no interest in, she would appear to be wrapped in her work to a casual observer. She absorbs information very well, and even now I can feel that. I feel like I'm seeing something behind those eyes that I never saw before. I don't know what it is, though.
Hanako?
Her lips move just a little, silently mouthing something. She looks like she's on the verge of saying something, but won't say it. But that's the way Hanako always is, on the verge of saying something, but never quite doing it. As I look intently in her eyes, I realize something. Everyone has their own thoughts, things I want to say, their own worldview. But I can't work out what Hanako wants to say, and can't work out what she's thinking. I've never been able to. It's frustrating. It feels like I don't know her at all, despite all the time we've spent together.
Hey, Sal.
It's only now that I find myself blushing. I've been looking directly into Hanako's eyes from such a short distance with absolutely no regard for her, and she's been looking into mine without shirking away. I quickly look away while covering my face with my hand. Hanako does just the same. Another awkward silence reigns. I hate these. At first I accepted them as just being a fact of life around Hanako, but now all they feel like is an affirmation of just how little we're able to communicate. Some anger makes its way into the complex mixture of emotions I'm experiencing right now. I want to bridge that gap between us. Friends shouldn't have to tiptoe around each other like this. I speak before I can argue myself out of what I'm doing to do. My scarring isn't as bad as Hanako's, and I can't possibly compare my life to hers. But I want to show her something, but I want to show her that she's not alone. Doing this in such a blunt manner might be the only way to get my point across.
Hanako, I want to show you something.
I take a deep breath to prepare myself. This could backfire badly, but I feel as if we've come close enough for this to be okay.
I'm not going to strip naked or anything weird. I'm just going to take off my shirt.
Hanako's eyes grow to the size of saucers. Her face is an amusing mix of curiosity and nervousness as she stands. And helps take the edge off my own nervousness at doing this in front of another person. Slowly, with my entire body feeling tense, I unknot my tie and begin to lose the first of the buttons. I'm trying to mentally block out Hanako to make this easier, but it's not really working. As I work my way down, I expect to hear some sort of protest from her. She remains silent, though, which just makes this feel even stranger. Sorry, one moment. Let's see, with the last of my shirt unbuttoned, I take a breath and look at her. Hanako's gaze is fixed on my scarring, as expected. And once I nod to say it's okay, she steps forward and tentatively places her hand on the vertical line running down my chest. The scarring on her hand, a pattern of, you know what, Yusha, you take over for a second.
Sure. The scarring of her hand, a pattern of damaged skin across its surface, contrasts with a single uniform line that makes up mine. Her hand isn't trembling at all, unlike what I predicted.
This is...
The scar from the surgery that followed my heart attack. The surgeons had to cut open my chest to operate on my heart.
I never knew.
Hanako's words are calmer and softer than usual. The soft feeling of her fingers moving away from my scar to my breast makes me hesitate a little before continuing on. You are the first person to see this since I left the hospital.
There we go. Just in case.
But why are you showing this to me?
I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this. That I could accept my past and move on. I wanted to show that to you as well.
She nods. From her reaction, she seems to know how difficult this is for me. More than anything, the scar represents a visual reminder of my condition. A reminder that I'm not normal anymore. That's something that until now I tried my hardest to ignore. As the minutes tick by, Hanako's gaze lingers. Her eyes look less focused on my scarring than before. The situation feels a bit different than it previously did. It makes me feel slightly uncomfortable. Her hand retreats, and I draw my shirt closed and begin to button it up. Her blushing face suddenly returns to its typical tense and timid state as she looks away. The room is completely silent as I fix my shirt and tie, feeling put off after such an unexpectedly intimate moment.
Oh, I guess you're not the only one that's scarred.
Hanako smiles a little at the joke, thankfully lightening the atmosphere a little bit.
Thank you, Hisao. I think I understand.
I give a long sigh of relief. I really didn't know how she'd take it, but I'm glad everything seems to have worked out as I hoped. Hanako's smile only proves that further. I'm finding the path I want to follow now, and what Hanako needs to do is find her own. It's something I can help her with, and it's something that she needs to overcome her past in order to do. Hanako checks her watch. It's getting late by now.
Hisao,
Yeah, I'd better be going. I'll be thankful for some sleep. It's been a long day after all. Good night, Hanako.
Good night.
I make my way out of her room and into the hallway, remaining silent as I do so. I think both of us have gone through a few emotions today. Multitasking is hard. The heat of the summertime sun beats down on my sweating brow. Dabbing with a handkerchief doesn't help too much in making me any more comfortable. Giving up on the idea of getting more done today, I stop and lean against one of the overpass fences, resting my bag on the ground. The stores in the town below Yamako are well stocked and offer enough variety for me to get by, but at least an occasional shopping trip to the city is something that can't really be avoided. I've been here a few times now. The city's layout is getting more familiar, and the nostalgia from its atmosphere is beginning to wear off. I realize that I've begun to wheeze. I sound like an old man that's overexerted himself, and having to connect it to the fact that I'm the source is a bit disturbing. I put a hand on my chest and concentrate for a bit to make sure I haven't gone far enough to cause any further problems. Thankfully, my heart's acting normally. There's no dull pain, and the beating is regular, albeit fast-paced, as I recover from overdoing things in this kind of heat. I hate my body. It's frustrating to be held back, even more to be held back by fear of my life being ended, when doing something as simple as walking around the city for a while. As I ponder on my health, I feel my pocket vibrating. By the time my phone's begun to ring, my hand's already fishing for it. A glance at the screen shows a caller number I don't recognize. Strange. Shrugging, I press the button to answer the call and bring the phone to my ear.
Hello, Hanako speaking.
The sound of a couple of short breaths can be heard, but no actual speech is forthcoming.
Hello?
Isao?
It's Hanako. Her voice is really easy to place, even if I've never heard it over a phone before.
Hanako? Sorry, I wasn't expecting your call. What's up?
If you're not busy, I was wondering if you would like to
Meet up?
Yes, I mean...
She sounds really wound up about this. I can hear muffled voices in the background, and it's about time for afternoon tea, so I guess she'll want me to meet her at the Shanghai or something.
Sounds fine. You at the Shanghai?
I'm in the city.
Hanako's here? Alone? That's a surprise. It's little wonder she's like this if she's surrounded by people and entirely by herself.
That works out well. I'm just wandering around here now. Where are you?
Hanako manages to stammer out the street name, address, and some basic directions to where she is. Luckily, it's not too far, so I agree to see her soon before hanging up. I look up to the sky. The summer heat's beating down. This is the first time Hanako's asked for us to do something together beyond a simple board game, and the first time, at least since I've known her, that she's come to the city by herself. Maybe this means that Lily was right. By the time I managed to stagger up to the cafe where Hanako is, I've started to wheeze again. I'm sweating so much that I feel like a melting popsicle and can barely hold the bag in my hand. I need to sit down. Badly. The tables outside are all occupied by busily chatting couples and girls gossiping between themselves. The contrast between the different age groups and fashions of the people here and the people from the town near Yamako is striking. I scan over the people sitting at the tables, but I can't see Hanako. She did say she was sitting outside, so I must just be missing her. Not difficult, considering how small she usually tries to make her presence. I look around again, more slowly this time, taking particular care to see if I can find Hanako's hat. It's pretty distinctive, and I'd be very surprised if she wasn't wearing it. There she is. Sure enough, her head is kept low and the table she's sitting at is right beside the building in an inconspicuous corner. I walk up to where she is and make sure that I have her attention before I sit, lest I give her a scare. She notices me and gives a small wave as I arrive at her table.
Are you feeling okay?
I try my best to laugh it off, but doing so just makes me more out of breath.
Not very fit these days. Don't mind me.
Hanako nods, but still feels a bit put off. Not that I can get a good look at her face. Something about her seems a bit different. I'm not sure if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but she looks kind of nice. Her eyes move upwards to look at me before quickly flicking down again. I begin to think this is going to be a rather quiet meeting, but a waitress thankfully arrives and sets down a cup of tea in front of Hanako. Hanako almost automatically turns slightly away and lowers the side of her head. It's an amazingly practiced motion and does a good job of its intended purpose, hiding her scars from someone who's leaning in close. Her right arm is still laying on the table, though, with the scarring on the back of her hand quite visible. It catches the waitress's eye, and I move quickly to distract her.
Excuse me. May I place an order?
The waitress nods and gives me a couple of seconds to look at the menu.
Could I have a mango smoothie, please?
She gives a nod before almost enthusiastically bouncing inside. Everything is so different in the city in more ways than one. Hanako looks back up towards me and adjusts her hat a little. If she noticed the waitress staring at her scars, she doesn't show it.
Not coffee?
I think I'd die from this heat if I had something like coffee right now.
A little quiet.
I think I'd die from this heat if I had something like coffee right now.
Resting my head in my hand, I looked at my quiet companion. She seems taken aback, a very unexpected reaction to my lame joke. An unwelcome emotion bubbles up inside of me as I realize her reason why. Unlike most in Yamaku, indeed, unlike anyone there I'm aware of, my condition goes beyond limiting the activities I can do. Or to be more precise, breaching those limits could have much more grave consequences. Sorry, just let me double check something, Yep. Thankfully, it's something that's very rarely come up since I entered Yamaku. I thought that it was so rare that Hanako and Lily might not think of it at all. It turns out that I was wrong. Hanako silently drinks her tea while I wait for my drink, confirming that it's the right temperature with a small sip before she begins in earnest. I felt guilty for being the cause of an uncomfortable silence, since in the past I've been kind of hard on Hanako for those. Eventually, the same waitress as before bounces up, handing me my drink. I gather change from my pocket and drop it into her waiting hand before she goes off to attend to another customer. My eyes linger on her as she walks away.
Do you think that she looks pretty?
Hanako's following my gaze, her eyes taking in the waitress that served us. I can feel my blood slowly going to my cheeks as I rest my smoothie back on the table.
No, can't really say that I'm really into that look. She just looked like an old friend I knew before my heart attack.
Did you have many friends?
I had a few at my previous school, though I wouldn't say a lot. The four of us just hung around together after school and stuff.
Do you still talk to them?
I shake my head.
No, we gradually lost contact while I was stuck in the hospital.
You're not saddened by that? Or angry?
Hanako looks genuinely surprised. I guess it's the right reaction.
Well, life did move on for them while I was stuck in the ward. I was pretty sore about it at the time, but now it's just a bunch of nice memories. Besides, once I came to Yamaku, I found new friends as well.
That's quite a whitewash of what my feelings were back then. I went through some dark times during my stay at the hospital, and I really am glad that Hanako and Lily were around to help me after I left it. Hanako blushes as we both get down to enjoying our drinks. She seems to have calmed down since I arrived, and I've started to feel a little better now that I've had the chance to rest a bit, so this is getting to be a nice outing already. Even if she's calmer than before, though, she's still fidgeting a bit. She runs her hand down one of her bangs as I try to think of something to say.
Right, I was going to ask.
Hanako tilts her head quizzically.
I didn't know you had a mobile phone. How'd you get my number?
Lily gave it to me.
I should have guessed.
You know, you could have just asked. I'd have given it to you. Want to exchange email addresses?
Hanako nods, setting down her drink and fishing out her phone from her pocket as I do the same. It's surprisingly the same model as mine. Pink, though.
Nice phone.
She looks at me with a curious expression before noticing my phone and giggling. It's one of the very few times I've seen Hanako let her guard down enough to do such a thing.
I didn't pick it out myself, though.
Oh?
It was a present from Lily. I never really needed a phone, and I couldn't afford one. She bought me one for Christmas, though, saying that we could use it to keep in touch.
I see her with her basically every day anyway, both in and out of school. Then again, Lily does have her class representative duties and other friends that she talks with. It'd probably help for situations like this too, where she's gone away for a while.
Lily's a very special person to you, isn't she?
She is. I love her very much.
Hanako looks down and smiles as she thinks of her. None of my friendships were as deep as theirs, and I have to admit to myself that I'm a little jealous of their relationship. We tell each other our email addresses and thumb them into our respective phones, and I got Hanako's number from earlier and put it into my contact list.
Done. That makes 3 now.
3?
Lily, Akira, and you.
Oh, Akira. She's an interesting person, isn't she?
She is. She's also really nice, though. Her suit makes her look a bit cool.
I'm a little surprised you know each other well. What with her job taking up so much of her time.
Hanako looks down a little and takes another sip of her drink. If I wasn't looking intently at her face, I'd miss the small smile perched on it. I guess when she knows so few people, those she knows must mean a lot to her.
How many do you have?
About 9 or 10?
I hesitate to go into them for fear of rubbing the fact that Hanako doesn't have parents or apparently even close relatives. 2 of those are Shizune and Misha too, which is another can of worms.
I imagine that Lily would have more than both of us put together. Probably.
Hanako gives a childish giggle and I can't help smiling. There's a good feeling that she's gotten this comfortable around me. At times like this, I feel like I'm getting close to talking to her true self.
You mind if I ask something that I've been wondering?
Hanako shakes her head as she takes a last sip of her tea, finishing it off.
You don't seem very jealous of Lily having lots of friends. Don't you want to make some more friends yourself, or get to know some of hers?
I'm not jealous. I don't like people, so I don't mind not having many friends.
That's really not the answer I was expecting. So I don't look fearful or sad as you say this, but rather quite serious. Hanako rubs her arm awkwardly, having taken my quietness as a reason to continue. I'm not really sure what I should say, so I end up simply giving her my attention in silence.
In middle school, I got bullied a lot. I was called names and got excluded from work groups and sports teams. There were worse things too.
And that's what made you not like other people?
She shakes her head.
That was elementary school.
I feel bad for bringing this up now. Adults have enough problems dealing with Hanako's scarring. Children would be all the worse. I'd assume that the way she tried to make her presence not felt was just to avoid people staring at her because she was afraid of them. Certainly not because she genuinely didn't want to interact with them in the first place as well. I noticed the condensation from my neglected smoothie forming a little puddle around the bottom of the cup, so I take the opportunity to finish it off. As I drink, she begins to fiddle with her phone. It looks like she's remembered the people around her again and begun to tense up. It isn't exactly a cheap phone. I had to save up for quite a while to afford one when I got mine. If Lily went to a private school, she probably wouldn't have had too much trouble getting one for a present, though. What you can fiddle with it gives me an idea.
Hey, Hanako, wait for me. I'll be right back.
I put the now empty cup down, slip my phone into my pocket, and begin to move off, carefully stepping around the bag I'd placed beside my feet. Thankfully, sitting around while talking to Hanako has helped me feel a lot better than before.
Wait, what? Where are you going?
Stay here. I'll be right back.
As much as I'd have liked to have jogged back, I know full well that I couldn't. I end up walking back to the cafe, a little blue bag in my right hand. Hanako notices me quickly, looking about as confused as she did when I left. I deposit the diminutive bag in front of her and sit down.
Is this?
It's for you. You can open it.
But...
Go on.
She looks very unsure about it, but eventually gives in, slowly opening the bag and picks its contents out. A silver chain phone strap dangles from her fingers, ending in a delicate flower. It isn't exactly a masterwork of jewelry, but it's about as much as I can afford. Hanako's eyes light up when she looks at it. It's the kind of reaction I was hoping for. The summer sun's light glints off the silver as I twist to and fro a little. It's not too ostentatious, but it still looks a little charming. I think it suits her well. Hanako lowers the phone strap to the table and looks to me once more.
But it's not Christmas or my birthday.
Fine. Don't worry about it. I just thought it might be nice to have something to decorate your phone with.
I don't have anything to give to you.
I told you it's fine. Friends can give things to each other like this sometimes, right?
Friends.
Hanako lowers her face so much that I can't see her expression. She eventually nods before taking her phone and fiddling with the strap to attach it properly. She looks to me and smiles as she holds up her phone, now adorned with a little flower.
Thank you, Isao.
Her smile proves infectious. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice a couple getting up and leaving. That reminds me of the bus back to town below Yamako will be coming soon.
Yes. I'd better be going if I want to catch the next bus back to town. You coming as well?
Yes.
She hastily nods before carefully putting her phone back into her pocket and getting out of her chair. I do the same thing and pick up the bag I'd left beside me on my way out. We walk side by side as we make our way to the bus station, exchanging no words between us. Hanako's gaze is firmly locked ahead of her, though she looks very happy with herself. I'm not sure what I should say to her, but I'm also not sure that I need to say anything. The fact that Hanako's happy, and happy because of me, is enough to make the load on my arm feel light as a feather. Filter, don't fail me now. Finally reaching the classroom after the usual walk from the dorms, I step inside. My eyes immediately turn to the third seat from the left in the back row, Hanako's seat. It's empty, and after glancing around the room, it looks like she isn't here yet. The two girls from the newspaper club are here in the two seats to the left of Hanako's. That's our Shizune and Misha, but that's about it. We exchanged morning greetings before I take my seat. I have admitted that this was a bit of a relief. This gives me at least a few more minutes to think. Not that I haven't been doing so previously. Ever since our trip to town, Hanako's been on my mind. I still don't know what to make of my relationship to her. I like her, I can admit that much to myself. I want to protect her and shield her from the pain she feels. I really don't think my feelings are just those of friendship anymore. But that said, I feel like I don't even know her. If I made a move on her, how would she take it? Is she in an emotional state that allows her to make such a reasonable decision about a relationship? How would she cope with anything that might happen afterwards? There's also the possibility that I'm just completely misinterpreting Hanako, and that's a difficult thing to do with someone whose social skills seem to be so underdeveloped. The sound of footsteps comes up to the door, making me perk up. It ends up just being Miki. She barely acknowledges my existence when I accidentally make eye contact with her. I'm about to look away, but another person comes in not long after she takes her seats. I feel myself freeze as I see Hanako enter. This is an irrational reaction, but I have no idea how I should act or what I should say to her. For a moment, our eyes meet. And then, just as quickly, she looks away and moves to her seat without saying a single word. As is now usual for the period following classes, my face is buried deep in a book that I find thoroughly uninteresting. Studying is not something that comes naturally to me. I didn't study a lot before coming to Yamaku, and until now I've largely managed to coast through on talent alone. It's frustrating that I can't do it anymore. Judging by the faces of the other few students in the library, I don't think I'm alone in my distaste for this. Misery loves company, I suppose. I decided to spend lunchtime with Hanako since we haven't had lunch together for a while now. I may as well have spent the time studying, though. Aside from pathetically small snippets of small talk, there was barely a word said between us. Why does she keep doing this to me? I just want to protect her, to be there for her, but every time I feel like we're coming closer, we end up further away.
Are you busy?
Hanako?
Almost did it, caught myself. My head whips around a surprise, causing her to retreat in fright. That was bad timing. If I hadn't been thinking about her at that very moment, I probably wouldn't have been nearly so startled.
Sorry. You just startled me.
I found myself staring at her longer than I should, so I go back to the text lying on the table in front of me. I feel more like I'm just staring at the word rather than actually reading. I get the feeling Hanako can notice this as well, so I sigh and close the book.
What's up?
I was just wondering what you were reading.
She looks a little downcast after my reaction to seeing her. Giving up the prospect of getting any more work done, I get up and return the book to its place on a nearby shelf.
An English textbook.
Has it helped?
It helped me realize that I don't like English, yeah.
Hanako gives a small giggle. I may muse on the strange state of our friendship, but I do know that such little gestures are the things that I wouldn't see, were it not at least some distance closer to her than when we first met. I look at her for a moment, thinking about what I do and don't know about her. It's a slightly depressing topic.
Is something wrong?
If I want to know more about her, maybe I should stop being so evasive about it. Talking with Lily as an equal rather than being constantly in fear of causing her to become upset worked fine, so I guess I should just try a straightforward approach with Hanako as well.
Hey, Hanako. Do you mind if I ask you a question?
I don't mind.
I want to know what your life was like. Your life before coming to Yamaku.
She hesitates. I briefly consider backing off, but she seems to be taking the question quite seriously. I sit and watch her, silently letting her take her time. She's not making eye contact with me, and looks almost as if she's arguing with herself into letting herself open up to me more. Her answer finally comes in a stiff, almost reluctant nod. She looks far more tense than she did before I'd asked.
Okay, but in return, you have to tell me about your life as well.
I nod and follow her as she begins to walk out of the library so we can talk. By now, most of the students have already left the main building, so apart from a few people hovering around club rooms, the hallways are largely empty.
I guess we'll start with coming to Yamaku. Let's see. I was in the hospital when my parents first told me about Yamaku Academy. The doctors told me I shouldn't go to my old school anymore. My parents agreed and persuaded me to apply for Yamaku, even though it would mean living away from them for the first time.
It must have been hard for you.
Well, yeah. I have to admit that it was. My parents both work long hours and full time, so having to live reasonably independently wasn't anything new to me. It was the fact that I was going to school for disabled students that hit hardest, I think. And you?
A small group of chatting girls passes us as we near the stairs, with Hanako pressing herself tightly on my side until we reach the ground floor. She doesn't usually come this close while just walking in the school, so I'm left a little put off.
The staff at the orphanage offered me some options on what I could do. Middle school hadn't been good, so I thought that Yamaku might be better. It was isolated, and I thought it might be easier to get by here with most of the others being disabled.
It's pretty ironic that the reasons Hanako looked forward to Yamaku are the exact reasons I hated the idea. To me, it felt like I was being shunted somewhere away from society and everybody I knew. To Hanako, that was probably an inviting prospect.
What was life like at the orphanage?
It was okay. The staff there were nice, and they took care of us. The children there didn't talk to me much, but I didn't really want to talk with them either, so I didn't mind. The orphanage had a little library, so I started to read to pass the time. The staff didn't mind it because it made me easier to handle than many of the other children.
You didn't make any friends there?
No, I think my life was on hold during that time. I knew that, but I didn't mind.
To think her life was on hold for all that time, though, depending on when the fire happened, that was a huge chunk of her life. No parents, no friends, apparently no relatives. I walked through the door into the courtyard. I expected to need to avert my eyes from the sun, but by now it's well into the sunset. Hanako's eyes keep flicking to me, so I look away from her for a bit.
What was it like in the hospital?
I quickly clear my thoughts and try to refocus them. I hesitate for a bit, but I know that I have to tell her. We're close enough for her to feel comfortable telling me this, so it's only fair that I have to reciprocate.
It's okay at times, but at others, it was pretty bad. At the beginning, everyone sent their sympathies and came to visit often. It was just like breaking an arm or something. Meeting all my friends was the one of the good times. You and Ako came in often as well. More often than anyone else. But there were bad times too. When my friends slowly stopped visiting, I began to realize how grave my situation was. It reminded me that this wasn't a broken limb, and that I was just now a different person than before. Even the times you and Ako would spend with me became torturous. By the end, we were reduced to silence, whereas before, she'd be talking constantly.
But that's how Iwanaka always was. She may have been a fragile person, but she would talk constantly to try and hide that fact. Not about anything in particular, just talk.
Hey, I think the 3 lowest points would have been when my parents told me I wouldn't be going to my old school anymore. My birthday passing while in the hospital, and when Iwanaka left for the last time.
We leave the school buildings behind us as we begin to follow the main path through the gardens. They may have been the odd bystander in the school buildings, but outside we're practically alone.
What was your middle school like?
I liked it. I grew up in a really metropolitan area, and the middle school was nearby, so it was pretty crowded. I didn't mind it, probably because I'm used to being in crowds and around lots of people. I got good marks, and I played soccer with my friends. I spent a fair bit of time hanging out with them after school as well. Did get teased a bit over my hair, though.
Your hair?
I grimaced a little as I put a hand over my hair to cover it.
I'd keep getting tufts and strands that refused to flatten or stay where I wanted them, and my mother wouldn't let me just get my hair shaved. It had a habit of popping out, no matter how much I tried to brush it down.
It still does a little.
I was worried I'd get that reply.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I give a mild laugh and wave it off.
It's fine. I know it still does.
It feels strange to have someone act so interested in my past. If it were anyone else, I'd think they were just acting polite, but that's something I really don't think Hanako would do. Or if she did it, she'd do it so badly that it'd be obvious. There are a number of girls in the common room on the ground floor, and Hanako presses herself to my side once more as we pass them. I expect her to break off, but instead she continues to cling on to me as we walk towards the stairway. Something about the way she's holding on to me feels different from usual. I'm left deep in thought as we walk up the stairs and down the hallway. It's only when we stop that I look up and realize that I've been following her without question.
Why'd we come to your dormitory room?
She looks straight at the door without so much as a glance in my direction.
Hanako?
She moves to answer, but stops herself. Instead, she silently breaks from my side, opens her door, and steps inside. I look up and down the hallway, a bit lost as to exactly what I should do. Shrugging, I decide to follow her since I don't have any reasons to do otherwise. Hanako stands in the middle of a room and looks straight at me. It's unnerving when she does this, and it's such an unusual action for her. I open my mouth to speak, but she preempts me.
Could you close and lock the door?
Hanako's hand reaches for her chest, grabbing at her blouse at her heart. I turn and lock the door shut and then freeze. The atmosphere is beginning to feel quite strange. This feeling is only made more profound when I hear the curtains being pulled behind me. It's going to be night soon. We're a guy and a girl in a bedroom. She's closing the curtains, and I'm shutting and locking the door. She can't really have that in mind, can she? I gulp and turn around very, very slowly. Hanako's in the center of the room, but hasn't turned back to face me. Little premature. Yeah.
You told me about your past, so I have to tell you mine.
She takes a deep, shuddering breath and pauses for a number of seconds. Her hands move up to her ribbon and begin to tug, all but confirming my thoughts.
Hanako?
Please, don't say anything.
I obediently say hush as she slips off her ribbon and continues to unbutton her blouse before working the clip on her bra. The process is slow. Perhaps it just feels slow because of what she's doing. I'm not sure. Okay, this is already more than I was expecting to... Christ alive. First one at the spot, all I can do is watch as Hanako, hands trembling, unclips her skirt and lets it drop to the ground. Finally, she takes her blouse in her hands and draws it off. Her bra falling from her shoulders. Don't tell Twitch. Yeah, don't tell Twitch happens. It'll cut away when... Yeah. Anyways,
Do you want me to take over?
Nope. Alright. Time to man up. What happens, happens. And so, Hanako stands in the middle of the room all but bared, save her stockings and underwear. Relax.
Okay, alright.
I was expecting a cutaway too. Just relax. We're in the same situation here.
This is me. All of me.
Okay, triple checking. Yes, I have the filter on. So why ain't you gotten away, game?
It's there's a different there's a different scene that happens.
It's different.
Yeah. It'll remove the scene that's after, like that comes after this.
Still embarrassing.
Oh, friend. And to think Callie wanted us to actually read these scenes in a separate stream.
No!
Yeah. That was about the reaction I expected out of half of this cast. Silly woman, silly woman. Anyways. My eyes are immediately drawn to the scarring on her back. The skin on the right side is of a similar texture to that of her face, but it's also stretched taut and covering a much larger area. The scarring is by far the worst on the shoulder, behind, and thigh. Just as my heart attack redefined my life, this is the event that redefined Hanako's. If I'd seen this when I first met her, I'd have been shocked. Not only at the sight, but also at the idea that something like this was survivable. But after having had time to get used to the idea, and after seeing the scars on her face, hands, and collar, my reaction is more measured. My reaction right now is not due to her scarring, but to her body.
The fire happened when I was 8 years old. It was night, and we were sleeping when it started.
Hanako's voice trembles, the shaking of her blouse giving away the fact that her hands are doing the same.
I curled up into a ball when the fire swept over me. My mother tried to shield me. That's the only reason I lived.
Hanako's eyes begin to moisten, her voice cracking under the combined pressure of exposing herself to me like this, and reliving those painful memories from so long ago. I want to say something, anything to make her feel better. I can't, though. I feel completely useless when faced with a situation like this. She's forcing herself to come so close, yet it's at times like this I feel the most distant to her.
I'm sorry for making you see this.
There's no point denying the obvious. I think what I should say now, and what Hanako wants me to say now, is the truth. What I genuinely, honestly believe.
Doesn't matter. You're a wonderful person, Hanako. Your body doesn't change that.
She looks at me for a long time, her breathing uneven as she tries to remain steady amidst the emotions we're both feeling. It feels less like she's looking at me than she's looking through me. I slowly walk towards her and gently place my hand on her shoulder as she lets go of her blouse. She gasps a little. Not in fright, but simple startlement. Being so close to her causes my mind to become a jumble of feelings. The scarring on her shoulder, plain to see and leather-like to the touch, conflicts greatly with her otherwise soft skin and silky dark hair. Hanako is a girl with all that entails. She's taller than usual for a woman, but still has curves in all the right places. The nape of her neck, just visible thanks to her hair slung over her shoulder, is alluring.
I know that I'm not pretty like Lily. I just wanted you to see me. The real me.
That is a flattering CJ, though.
I've already seen the real you, though. You didn't need to take off your clothes for that.
Her lips are open just a little. Don't worry, it's covered on stream, that's what matters. Relax. Her lips are open just a little. She lets out a sharp breath, as is. Without thinking, I breathlessly lean forwards and press my lips to hers. The kiss only lasts for a fleeting moment before our faces part, her breathing quick and nervous. Come on, for fuck's sakes. I feel like Hanako's mouth lingers and her eyes remain locked to mine. Trembling a little myself, I remove my tie and begin undoing the buttons of my shirt. Okay, for the record, I'm obviously not, I ain't nervous about seeing this, I'm nervous about Twitch happens coming in. Hanako remains standing where she is, looking at the ground in front of her rather than watching me undress. On the one hand, I'm thankful for that. I've always been somewhat self-conscious. Fuck this. I'm not reading any of this. Thank you. Thank you.
There it is.
Relief. No more Twitch admins, And then after a couple of seconds, it ends. The sound of Hanako's breathing in my own rings in my ears almost painfully loudly. Hanako holds an arm over her face, her mouth open and gulping for air. As I hold myself over her, suddenly my arms almost give way and my vision distorts, as if someone's grabbed it and pulled it sideways. I let myself fall sideways onto the bed, besides the, panting Hanako for fear of falling on her instead. We both lay beside each other. My eyes try to focus on the ceiling to not much success. Pulling a blanket over us to stave off the cold is all I can do. The only sound in the room is that of her breathing. The sweat that had accumulated on my body feels uncomfortable. We're both physically and emotionally exhausted and a complete mess all over. My vision slowly begins to return to normal as I continue to stare at the ceiling, but my limbs still feel like jelly. I try to concentrate on my chest, and I find its beat irregular and mildly painful. This is a dangerous time. I have to think this through and not panic, lest I make my situation any worse. With a huge effort, I take control of my erratic breathing, forcing myself to make long, deep breaths. Okay, I think we're safe to get rid of that. Fucking hope so. I count half a dozen before I start to feel physically calm again and press my hands on my chest to assure myself. My heartbeat back to normal. I'm okay. I turn my face towards Hanako, who's already looking at me. Her expression looks pretty dazed, but underneath that, there's definitely a look of concern. She's realized what's happened.
Okay. Everything's back to normal.
I found myself barely able to get the words out between breaths. I don't think doing that would tire a normal body out this much, so I have no doubt my condition's at least partially at fault. Why don't body have to do this right now? All thoughts in my heart, though, are pushed aside as I see the wide smile forming on Hanako's face. As always, I smile back with another thought. Hanako's smile has always been infectious in its almost childlike sweetness and earnesty. Something that sets her apart from anyone else I know. Right now, we don't need words, just everything we want to communicate to each other, we can share just fine without them. Okay, I just realized something. You wanna know what game I streamed earlier this week? Needy Streamer Overdose. Maybe if I got away with playing that, maybe none of that, maybe that was all fine. Possibly. That's what I'm telling myself. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Anyways. My eyes feel heavy as they slowly open, the light from outside making me blink a bit to let them get adjusted. My body feels like lead and my head feels just as heavy. Waking up to an unfamiliar ceiling is an uncomfortable feeling. It reminds me of the first time I woke to the dimpled white tile ceiling of the hospital. It's only after spending a few seconds staring up at it that I realize where I am. This is Hanako's dorm room. I feel as though my heart stopped again as the events of last night rushed to my head. Blood rushes to my cheeks and I shut my eyes once more. There's very little point in getting myself worked up this early though, so I try to push such thoughts out of my mind for now. I roll my head to the side to see if Hanako's where she was when I drifted off to sleep. All that's there now is an empty space on the bed and the room beyond. I sluggishly sit up and rub my eyes before pinching the bridge of my nose and looking around the room. The only person here is me. I'm still bereft of my clothes, and after a quick scan of the floor for them, I noticed that they're neatly folded in a corner of the room. Try as I might, I can't see Hanako's anywhere. With a great yawn, I get myself out of bed and quickly look for some underwear. I grimace a little at the prospect of taking advantage of the fact that I have some time without anyone around. I get myself dressed for the coming school day in short order. And then, I'm alone. Without saying anything more to busy myself with my mind my mind becomes focused on the fact that I'm standing in another person's bedroom after we spent the night together, but there's not a single sign of her around. My gut groups being more helpful than my brain in working out this riddle, with a loud growl that reminds me that she may well just be getting breakfast. I would have liked to wake up next to her, but maybe it's a good thing that I have a few moments alone. Hanako's room, as always, is quite bleak in appearance. There are precious few decorations and practically no personal artifacts that aren't hidden away in cupboards and drawers. She's lived here for 3 years, but the room looks as if it's barely been occupied for a single day. I shouldn't overthink this. She might just like living this way, as some do. Having the ability to put such low stock in physical positions does have its advantages, but even so, it feels a little disconcerting given her past. She said her viewed herself as having her life on hold while at the orphanage. She certainly lives as if she still does, but after what happened last night, it's pretty hard to imagine that she still thinks that way. The sound of the door handle cracks through my thoughts, and I turn to face it. Sure enough, Hanako comes through and shuts the door behind her. She has what seems to be 2 microwave instant meals in her hand, so this is a little difficult.
Good morning, Hanako.
Morning.
She gives a little bow before making her way to her desk, settling down both plates. I can now see them inside to be small satay dishes, their contents steaming, with a fork stuck inside the rice of each. Again, thanks to her for bringing them in, and we each take one and get down to eating. She sits on her desk chair while I sit on the side of the bed. I don't like talking while eating, so the silence between us isn't annoying in and of itself. It's the fact that it only exists because we don't quite know what to say to each other that's off-putting. Hanako glances towards me every so often as she eats. I only notice her doing so because I'm doing just the same thing. We're eating together as if we're a couple. We even did it last night, first for the both of us. Something feels wrong, though. Maybe that's why we can't even say a word to each other as we finish our plates and leave them in the sink. Maybe that's why we leave Hanako's room without holding hands or making small talk. Maybe that's why it feels as if we're further apart than we've ever been before. We enter the classroom together, and neither of us so much as glancing at each other. Just after we do so, I realize that this may have been a mistake. Susanna lifts her eyebrow at the sight, her suspicions raised. We reach the center aisle between the classroom's desks and look to each other. I'm not quite sure what I should say. Does she want me to address her as her girlfriend? I didn't think our relationship was... Oh, that's why this feels so strange.
Yeah?
Okay.
I awkwardly hold up my hand as we part and take our seats at our respective desks. I can't even look at her out of embarrassment. I feel like the gulf between Hanako and me is because of me. Susanne begins to make her way towards me, but then Muto enters the room. I'm thankful for his arrival being so well timed, drawing Susanne and her questioning away to wait for another time. I wouldn't have been able to answer her anyway. I like Hanako, but I've never told her what my feelings for her are. Hanako never said she saw me as anything beyond a friend either, yet despite that, we slept together. The bell to signal the beginning of lunch rings out. Muto is taken a little off guard, his chemistry lecture being cut off mid-sentence, much to his chagrin. For the entirety of the class, his rambling is passed through one ear and out the other as my mind mulls over the question of Hanako. I can't get her out of my mind, but now I've managed to wind myself up about it. I realized that she never said yes to what she did. She didn't say no either, but was she even able to? She's extremely submissive at the best of times, and then it took her a gargantuan effort to show me her scarring. I decided to at least try and make conversation with her. That'd be better than this monosyllabic conversation that's been the most we've ever managed between each other so far today. I walk to her desk intending to chat, but she awkwardly blushes and looks down even before I've come up to her. I take a breath to speak, but find myself lost for words. What the fuck am I gonna say to her? Hearing approaching footsteps, I turn to see Shizune and Misa already making their way towards us, no doubt with the intent to start asking troublesome things. A couple of other classmates are looking at us and gossiping between themselves as they throw sidelong glances. They must have also noticed Hanako and me coming in together earlier. I open my mouth to reassure Hanako, but she preempts me.
I've gotta go do something.
She gets out of her chair and dashes for the door. A couple of the books and pens that were on her desk are sent falling to the floor in a rush. Not many people seem to care about this event. A few look around to see what all the fuss is about, but go back to what they were previously doing soon after. I'm left despairingly looking at the door that Hanako disappeared out of. The idea of running after her passes through my mind, but I'm fairly sure that Hanako can run faster than I can. Besides, what would I say to her once I caught up anyways? Eventually, I simply crouched down and began picking up the items that fall into the ground from her desk. I feel low in every way, reduced to this as students pass me by on the way out of the room. I feel a tap on my shoulder. I look up and see Susan and Misha looking at me. Curiosity about the situation written on their faces mixed with a slightly apologetic look at the idea that they were partially responsible for what just happened.
Hey-chan, if we can help at all.
I just shake my head. This isn't a matter for them, and Shizune's expression in the tone of Misha's voice. I think they know the same thing. Shizune acknowledges my response and gives a solemn bow before making her way out of the room. Misha soon follows her up, obediently following her role as Shizune's shadow. I pick myself up, books and pens in hand, and place them inside Hanako's desk. With the classroom now empty, I end up just leaning against her desk and thinking to myself in silence. It feels like there's a complete emotional disconnect between Hanako and I. We haven't known each other for all that long, and despite wanting to start going out with her, I really don't know that much about how Hanako views things. I've been studying as hard as I can for exams, but I still don't know if I have any real sense of direction behind it. I tried to be a friend to Hanako, even if I couldn't tell her my feelings, and all we've done is drive each other apart. I couldn't even write a letter back to the one girl who ever loved me. Hanako. What should I do? What can I do? I simply don't know the answer to either of those questions. I do know that nobody else can help me with them. Just going back to the way things were should be enough to make me happy, but I know that can never happen. Something changed between us last night. Maybe it changed beforehand, it just came to a head then. I know there's a wall that Hanako has between me and her. I've been hitting that wall every time I've tried to interact with her on any level. Now I'm beginning to think that I have my own wall between us just as much as she does. She had to practically drag my past out of me, and mine was much less traumatic than hers. I want to say it's because I haven't had long to adjust since my heart attack, but I know full well that it would just be an excuse. The one time I can recall when it really felt like she was opening up to me from her own accord. When we were playing billiards in the city, I was the one who stopped her from going further. I want to know Hanako better. I want to save our friendship, if not begin a real relationship with her. My mind begins to tick as I sit against her desk, thinking to myself in the empty classroom that we spent so much time in together. I have to talk to Hanako. I pace around in the park, feelings of anxiety rolling over me. Every so often I reach into my pocket to take out my phone, but each and every time I hesitate and end up slipping it back in. If this were any normal situation, I wouldn't be cutting classes. Unfortunately, it isn't, so I find myself in the town below the school at 2 in the afternoon. Ever since I met Hanako, I've been the one who initiated everything between us, the one that started conversations. Went to her whenever she was, and suggested what we should do. Today, this once, I don't want to be the only one doing that. My hand dives into my pocket once more. This time I quickly navigate to the texting menu before I have a chance to change my mind again. You read that?
Hanako, if you want to talk, I'll be at the park in town for a while.
Finding a last measure of doubt, I thumb in my message to Hanako and press the button to send it. And now, I wait. My part in this has been fulfilled. What needs to happen now is for Hanako to make the decision. It'd be meaningless for me to drag her here. She needs to decide for herself whether she wants to meet me. The apple juice in the vending machine tastes awfully bitter as I swallow it down. My grip on the can has caused it to dent slightly in the middle. I shouldn't be this tense, but it's probably inevitable. Hanako is dear to me. What happened in the last couple of days has put a lot of pressure on both of us. The idea of losing all the progress we've made and coming closer to one another and losing our friendship as a whole is deeply unsettling. But even then, I still don't really know how close we are. We may have slept together, but before that, all I knew was friends. Maybe we are more than that, but if so, I never realized it. Maybe that's why I feel so uneasy right now. I don't understand Hanako, despite all the time we've spent together. The minutes are ticking by, and I still have no idea whether she'll show up.
He's
I pause for a moment, almost not believing I'm hearing the voice I'm hearing. I drop the can and straighten up with a start.
Hanako.
We look at each other for a few seconds before Hanako becomes too embarrassed to maintain eye contact and begins to nervously fiddle with the roughly cut lock of hair covering the side of her face. When I went to see Hanako in a room by myself after her breakdown, I had no idea what to say. That was fine then. All either of us wanted was each other's presence. Now though, I feel like I need to talk to her directly. I want to break this wall down between us before it forces us apart for good.
Hanako, what we did that night, how should I interpret that?
Hanako stops playing with her hair and looks at me, her head cast slightly downwards. She looks the same, which is probably a good mirror of how I'd look now if I wasn't so concerned.
I thought you might eventually go away if I was only someone you needed to protect. I thought if I let you do that, you might see me as someone more than that.
My first reaction is disbelief, but I did do it with her after all. I had plenty of opportunities where I could have stopped things, stepped back, and questioned what we were doing. And even though I didn't, a horrible feeling rises in the pit of my stomach. She offered herself to me because of what she thought I wanted, and now it feels like I took advantage of her. She may have been willing, but only under false premises. I've never been good at hiding my emotions from physically showing, and now so different. Hanako looks down once more, a strange mixture of depression, regret, and sickness written down to her face. Thick silence hangs in the air, save for the breeze blowing the trees around us.
I knew you couldn't look at me that way.
Hanako's words are said in little more than a whisper, seemingly directed just as much as at herself as to me.
What way? What do you mean?
All I ever was to you was a useless person. Just someone to protect. Someone like a child. I wanted to be more to you than that, but after so long, I got used to it.
The tone of her voice is unlike any I've heard her use before. She sounds disgusted. Not at me, but at herself.
After I came out of my room, I saw that you had started drifting away. I felt like I was going to lose you because you wanted somebody you could have that kind of relationship with. You were more quiet in school than before, and you were getting on so well with Yuko, I thought that I might lose you.
Not now. Okay, just a hiccup. Motherfucker. She thought I was bored of her because I wanted a romantic relationship?
We're friends, right? I wouldn't just abandon you like that, even if what you were saying was true.
Friendship was something I thought I'd given up on. I stopped believing in others after what happened after the accident. Before the accident happened, I got on well with people and other children. I didn't have many friends, but I didn't mind because I treasured the ones that I had. Afterwards, though, I was called names by the others and teased a lot. It hurt really deeply. The teachers tried to help, but they couldn't do much, and even many of them recoiled just at the sight of me. Among those calling me names and teasing me were the ones that I thought were my closest friends. From then on, I believed that it didn't matter if nobody else acknowledged me. All my existence ever did was make people troubled, after all. It was easier if I just didn't exist. But after meeting Lily, and then you, I tried, but I couldn't make myself think that way again.
All that time, she didn't trust me. She thought, just like everyone else in her life had, that she was worthless, someone to throw away once I got bored of being with her. That hurts. It's the one kind of person I never, ever wanted to be seen as, but because I know better than most just how horrible it feels to be thrown away by those I thought liked me. It's just cracking from the memories she's bringing up. I feel useless, completely unable to console her. In a strange way, though, I'm almost thankful she's allowing me to know this. The wall between us is going away, even if it hurts so badly to bring it down.
Hanako, if you just told me.
Was I wrong?
Of course you.
She wasn't. Hanako wasn't wrong. It's difficult to force myself to admit this, but I know trying to deny is pointless. To me, and to Lily, she was someone we tried to protect. She'd become to me what I'd become to my friends after my heart attack. A broken person. I liked her, possibly even loved her, but I never acted on that, precisely because I thought she was so fragile.
I mean, I don't look at you that way now. I got worried about you after what happened to you in class, and I thought I should try to protect you. When you locked yourself in your room, though, I got afraid. I thought you were rejecting me, and it forced me to think about a lot of different things.
I wasn't rejecting you!
She blurted out with an almost scared tone to her voice, taking me off guard. She quickly becomes embarrassed by her outburst before clenching her fists and working through what she wants to say in her mind.
I wouldn't ever do that. Not to you. Even though I was scared, even though I tried to push you away, you still tried to get closer to me. I locked myself away because I was just a burden to you, to Lily, to everyone. Every birthday was the same. Everyone doing their best to pretend that I mattered. Everyone pretending everything was alright. For that one day of the year. I didn't want to exist, but they wouldn't let me. Even after meeting Lily, everything was the same. I was as useless as I'd always been, unable to do anything for her, or for myself. I didn't want to be the same way to you.
Lily and I were completely wrong. From what you said, everything we did for her would have only made her feel worse. Even what little I thought I had right about her was a complete misjudgment.
You locked yourself in your room. I decided to try to work out my past as well and sort out my future. I didn't know how to deal with the things I'd lost by coming to Yamaku, so I was trying to sort them out myself. I thought it would help us become better friends if I did that.
Silence hangs in the air again. I try to keep looking at her, but I can't. I feel really low, and though I want to apologize, I don't know how I possibly could. I hear her take a deep breath and only look back to her after hearing her drop to the ground. The sound of her crying breaks my heart. I know I'm responsible for this, and I know that I can't do anything to help her. If Hanako feels the same, then I feel all the more so. I rushed to her tears and needed to roll down her cheeks unabated, wrapping my arms around her. I don't care how I must look anymore. I I just want to be closer right now.
I'm sorry, Hisao. I've messed up everything.
Fine. Everything's fine. I'm the one that should be sorry. I was meddling around behind your back and I never told you anything.
I can feel my grip tightening on Hanako as my vision blurs. I can't be bothered trying to hold back now. I have to force my words out as a lump begins to sink in my throat.
To tell you the truth, Hanako, I was scared. For the first time since my heart attack, I was really scared.
Hisao?
I lost so much when I came to Yamaku. I was depending on you, more than I ever thought I did, even now. I still have that hole inside me after losing my entire life and everyone I'd known. The thought of losing you as well.
But I'm just useless.
You're my friend, Hanako. You're more than that. I love you, Hanako. I love you so much that the thought of losing you frightened me so much.
This is bad. I'm really letting all of this out. I can't bring myself to look at her face right now.
I'm sorry, Hisao. I can't help feeling a bit happy. For so long, that's what I've wanted to hear.
The last of the floodgates breaks, the sound of her crying permeating the air as her body jars against mine. We hold each other tightly, connected more closely than ever in our shared grief and our shared happiness. I don't know how things are going to be like after this. Right now, though, I don't care. There's no other person in the world that either of us could possibly share these memories and emotions with. Nobody. After dropping the dirty can into a bin next to the bench, I take a seat beside Hanako. She puts away the handkerchief I give her to clean herself up, which hasn't helped much. Then again, I doubt I look much more presentable. Even now, I feel emptied and I've been embarrassed after letting my emotions out in public like that. It's not a bad sensation, though. I think Hanako feels the same way, too.
You calmed down a bit.
Yes, thank you.
For a while, we just sit and take our time before talking to one another. We both needed a little time to collect ourselves.
The weather is nice at this time of year.
Yeah, it is.
I close my eyes for a moment, relishing the feeling of the sun's heat and the cool breeze against my face. The weather's really nice today. Really, really nice.
You know, I don't really want to go back to classes right now. Do you?
She shakes her head as she finishes wiping her eyes with her cuff. The small smile she gives is nice, and it's a reminder of how earnest it can be. Smiling for other people might be a completely normal, everyday thing. For Hanako, though, she smiles so rarely and so sincerely that each and every time she does it, I feel a sense of relief and happiness.
I'm sorry for everything.
Hey, I think we both have a bit to be sorry for.
I know that. I'm too shy. I know you don't want me to be. I don't think I can.
You can change, Hanako. I know that because even in the time I've known you, you've already changed. To be honest, just being able to sit here and talk to you like this means that you've changed a lot since we first met.
But I can't be like that for anyone else. I don't have any plans for after school ends either.
Hanako's confidence begins to slide down again, but I think that now I can finally talk to her as an equal. I can do it now because I know that we're just the same in so many ways.
Give yourself some time, and I think you'll be able to achieve what you want. No, I'm sure that you'll be able to do it. I can see you've been trying, and I have faith in you. And you can depend on me if you feel like you need someone to support you. You know.
But I can't ask that of you.
You can. Because that's exactly what I'm asking of you. I'm going through the same thing, you know? It's called love.
Hanako smiles before I get off the bench and dust myself off. She does the same in short measure.
I'm kinda hungry. Wanna grab something to eat?
She nods vigorously. The way she's smiling, the way she's acting, even just the general air she gives off, I feel as if this is the first time I've seen her genuinely happy. We both make our way onto the street, walking beside each other.
Hisao?
Yeah?
I think I don't really understand you.
I don't think I understand you either. I believe that's fine, though.
There's not a single hint of despair in our voices. Not understanding each other is only natural. The walls we set up between ourselves couldn't possibly be broken down in a single day. But that's fine. As long as we take it day by day and try to understand each other, I think everything will be okay. As we walked down the street, though, Hanako's eyes flicked to my face and back to the street repeatedly.
Something on your mind? You look restless.
She slows before stopping completely. When I turn to meet her, she takes a long, deep breath, just looking at my face intently. This expression, I saw it once before in her face. Just once when I accidentally surprised her in her room.
I think I have something I need to give you.
What is it? You don't need to be evasive about it.
I wanted to give you this for a long time, but now that I need to, it's too embarrassing.
Don't worry. I'll accept it, whatever it is.
She gives a sweet, bashful smile and before taking my shoulder in her hand.
Then, please accept my first gift to you, Hisao.
Hanako?
Boom. Well, that was a bit of a trip, wasn't it?
Aww.
Yeah. You did it.
We
Yep.
did it! We got the girl.
We done did it. We fixed her.
We fixed
We
it!
fixed her.
I can make her worse!
Brilliant, brilliant. So, one down, 4 to go. That was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but we are still not done.
Oh,
No.
thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed our performance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for screaming.
Oh.
Not safe for work content makes me uncomfortable.
That's
Okay. No, it's okay. It's
That's-
completely understandable.
yes. That's
Like,
literally the entire reason I skipped it over.
Yeah.
Besides Twitch TOS. And again,
Yeah.
this needs to be reemphasized. Calico wanted us to read those initially on another stream, and my initial thought to reading that was, "Are you fucking insane?"
I'd rather die. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay.
Uh,
I know it was good. I had fun.
yes.
Glad. Me too.
Yes.
I definitely had a good time.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Yep. It was an even bigger endurance than Act 1, but I knew it'd be worth it. Every single one of these routes, the endings, every single one,
Are all good.
yes, makes
They're
everything
all
worth
good.
it. To say nothing of the fact that that was actually something of a, I don't want to call it a purgation exactly, but almost like closure in a way, because if I'm being honest, every time I read this, I've been reading every single round of these, to myself every time I've read this. Semi out loud, somewhat not.
Mhm.
So, in a sense, I've been rehearsing that for about 10 years. Whether that's showed or not is a different story. I fully admit to not exactly being the greatest actor in the world, but...
It's fine.
Hey, I don't know what I'm doing either.
I hope our performances brought a tear to your eye.
Right. Yeah. I didn't really seek actors. I sought more people who liked the game.
Yeah,
And,
no, understandable.
in a lot of ways, not being a fantastic actor can be made up for if you're just passionate about what you're doing, if you actually give a shit about the material. And clearly we all did.
Yeah, 100%. This has been this is still one of my favorite VNs. Like,
Mhm.
Yep. Same here. That's why I'm still putting all this work into trying to give the best performance possible. Please don't kill my computer by clicking onto this. Alright, excellent. And now for phase 2 of the plan. If that wasn't enough emotional damage for you, then how about I give you some more? Because... So, that nice, sad confession scene... Let's keep the feel train rolling, because... Who here in this chat is familiar with Dumpling Shirara?
Oh, Shira!
Yes. Yeah, it's an absolute tragedy what's happening, but
yeah.
she's doing what she thinks best, and tonight, she has already vowed that this will probably be her best stream ever, which you would expect for her final stream.
We will celebrate her with a smile.
And a raid. Once I type the message. So yeah, intense situation a bit here, but I think I have the perfect way to add some levity to that.
Yeah. And if our schedules line up properly, maybe Lily will be next.
In all honesty, I'm gonna be level with you guys. I would actually rather save her for last, actually.
That's fair. That's understandable.
Because
I'm here for all the routes, so
yes, indeed.
I'm here
Yep.
for all the routes, so
I'm,
to me it doesn't matter which route we do next.
Yep,
Stay strong.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm putting him through the ringer, but if he wasn't up to it, he wouldn't have agreed to it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Alright, I hope this works. Well, my personal favorite, of course. For all I know, I might have gotten your favorite out of the way first, which,
There were people here. There were a couple people that were their favorite girl was Hanako. I know Hikage said that Hanako's the only one that he has an art folder for.
Yep, yes indeedy. So, yep, there's our raid message. Burning love for Shirara. Somewhat tasteless considering the route we just did, but, again, levity.
She tastes like bacon.
I was about to say, could be worse. I could be doing goddamn bacon jokes, so,
That's
applaud my restraint in that sense, at least.
Way to get one in there. It's fine.
Which is
Yeah.
more restraint. It's more restraint than Hal showed when, he, sent over the folder for his pre-recorded lines, So, the way I like to do things, I have them label them according to route, scene, and numbered line.
Mhm.
So instead of saying Hanako, he called the files bacon. That is Hal's mentality to a T right there. You can always count on him for, to keep things light.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's enough, waffling from us. I think the three of us have earned a bit of a rest, don't you think?
Oh yes.
Definitely, especially you, Freya.
Yeah.
You deserve. Make sure you eat some. Make sure you eat something proper.
Yes,
I ate pizza in the middle of the stream.
That's 100% fine. I am fine with that.
Good.
That was. I mean, at one point I was like, I think I have time to go right now, so I did. I went and got some. So yeah, I'm good. I will get rest though.
Perfect.
Yes.
But before we get rest, before we get our physical rest, we need to put ourselves through some more fucking emotional turmoil to say hello to our lovely departing yokai.
Mm.
So, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you all for attending. I cannot tell you for sure when the next stream will be or in whose route we're doing. I have to talk to the rest of my cast to iron those details out, but
I'll be there.
yes, of course. He'll be there, I'll be there. Hal will have some pre-recorded lines, of course, but in any case, until then, until next time, thank you all very much again. Thank you for bearing with us for almost 9 hours.
What's got it?
Let's go to some of this stuff.
Yep. Thank you all, thank you all. I am too white to say that shit, so thank you. But at any rate, thank you all again. Thank the both of you. You both turned in absolutely fantastic performances, and Era, if she has any sense, she went to bed hours ago, so...
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like 2, 3 a.m. for her. So.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
I need to show a debt of gratitude for her as well. Not only acting her heart out like the rest of us, but doing so in the dead of night.
Yeah. Seriously.
That says a lot about her. I'm so proud of all you for the commitment you're showing to this project. I thank you all so much for bearing with this ridiculous idea I've had, but I'm just grateful that you're all in it for the long haul.
I'm pleased as punch, and I hope as long as you guys are all having fun, then I'm okay with it.
I sure said am.
Good.
All right.
Let's pass on that love to Shirara.
Goddamn right.
Yeah. All right.
Dumpling love, One love. So, let's depart for real now. Thank you all again. Thank everybody again. Have a good night. See you whenever our next stream of this is. Whenever my next stream is, hopefully. I don't know if I've earned your watch for whatever my next non-KATAWA stream is. I'd certainly appreciate it if you'd show up for it.
Yeah.
But, in any case, thank you all very much. Have a good night. We'll see you soon. Let's go see our lovely Oni off. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.